Good morning, everyone. This is Daryl Nelson with Daryl and Friends. A little bit of a jump start there. How are you this morning? Hey, the last 2 mornings have been absolutely wonderful. The last 2 days. Start in the morning and end in the afternoon. Listen, it's been an incredible summit this far. I'm getting wonderful responses from people who absolutely love the speakers. Just the little nuggets of gold that are dropped here and there are amazing takeaways. Today is a super packed day. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 speakers today, and very excited about it. If you received my email last night, it was titled, let me get the email up here. I'm looking around on my screen here. Let's see here. Oh, that one just came up. It says, hey, we're going live. We're live. Yeah. So it started out, the email started out, said, hey, Antoinette tried to commit suicide 2 times and ended up stopping a school shooting. Listen, Antoinette Tuff is on today. She is a CNN hero, and she'll be the last speaker today. And she will be going on around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, around 2:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're going to love her session. But we've got so many other amazing speakers today. We're going to start with Beth Townsend. She's going to be talking about, if it's not on purpose, is it an accident? Then we're going to follow up with Danny Williams, and we're going to talk about inflammation is the devil. Then we'll have Leah Hemstreet talking about 4 weeks forever health and wellness. Then we're going to have a topic that I found super interesting, and it has to do with gaslighting and relationships. And I'll be discussing that with therapist Mark Eshelman. You're definitely not going to want to miss that. And Justin Manzi will be coming on after that. Amazing speaker, talking about purpose and intention. Oh, but I don't have time to change. Really? Yes, we do. You're not going to want to miss any of these today. And listen, if you don't have the All Access Pass, you might miss out on a session, and it's over. I'm letting them play live online for 24 hours, and then after that, the only way you can access it is through the All Access Pass. Now, the All Access Pass, I'm just going to share it with you real quick here. There we go. It gives you every single session for the whole summit. Anytime you want to go in and watch it. It also has over 4 hours of bonus material. So as you can see here as I scroll, Samantha Taylor, her bonus is The One Thing. April Williams, Angela Harris, we have bonus on cravings, bonus on listening to the voices outside of yourself or herself in terms of Charlene. Yesterday, Brandis Lardner, Bad Body Image. Bad body image and things we can't change. Like, I've got big ears. Anyway, the bonus material is just as good, if not better in some cases, I think, than the sessions themselves. But anyways, you can get the All Access Pass for only $39, lifetime access. And anyone that has the Access Pass today at noon Pacific Standard Time or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will receive a link for a private Zoom session where you'll be able to ask questions of myself and participating speakers for an hour. So you'll want to get that. That is the All Access Pass. I will drop a link in there. Let me see here. Where's my link? So if you don't have the All Access Pass, you can get it really, really simple. Just click on this link and you'll have it. Also doing 4 draws today. 4 draws. We had 3 draws yesterday, and congratulations to all the winners. And today we've got 4 draws. So you'll want to be a registered participant for the summit if you're not already. That you don't have to be an All Access Pass member. You just have to be registered. Very, very simple. The free registration, I'll drop that in here if you're not already registered. But if you're registered, your name goes into a list. And I'm using some software online, so I click a button and it rotates and bang, it comes out with someone's name, and that will be the winner. So we have 4 gifts coming up today. Listen, today I'm super excited about our lineup. I'm super excited about the whole lineup for the whole summit. But I'm also excited because we had so much content for the summit that we're going into a bonus day. Because people are going to say, well, Daryl, when are you going to talk about your session? Well, I'm going to talk about my session tomorrow. So we have a bonus day, and it's not a full day. It's only 2.5 hours. So tomorrow morning, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, only for 2.5 hours, we've got 3 speakers. That includes myself. And you're not going to want to miss that. And that will tie up the whole summit at that point. Again, if you've got the All Access Pass, you can go in and watch it at your leisure anytime you want. So, hey, shout out to everyone this morning. Where are you coming from? Just drop it in the chat. I am going to, at this point, just a little patience. I am going to share. Let me see here. Where am I? I'm going to share the summit on my personal Facebook page, as well as my other pages. Okay, so just hold on. Thank you. Share via, how do I do that? Copy link. Okay, so I'm going to copy a link. Please share the summit with your friends. That would be absolutely great. So we're going to share that here. Post. And I'm going to share that here. Bang. Good. So no matter how you're seeing me on Facebook, whether it's my personal Facebook page, my DarylNelson.com Facebook page, or our Daryl and Friends Facebook group, you'll be able to see us streaming on every single one of those. I'm also streaming on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn and you look up Daryl Nelson, you'll see I'm streaming there. And we're also streaming live on my YouTube channel. So exciting. Hey, Joellen. She has been a faithful viewer. Hey, Beth Townsend. She is online from Baton Rouge. Beth is going to be our first speaker today. She'll be coming up in a few minutes here. Welcome, Beth. She's in the chat. So you folks can chat with her a little bit. Amazing lady. Amazing story. Her topic is, if it's not on purpose, is it an accident? Love her story. You're going to love it too. Anyone else out there that's jumping live this morning? Stephanie, hey Stephanie, great to see you're on. Good morning. Shannon Lambert Nelson, that's my better half. If you haven't figured it out already, cheers. Giving people a few minutes to log on. Joellen Kruger, good morning, Joellen. Nice to see you online again. Now I'm standing right now. A little different from yesterday because I was sitting in my seat and I got, not a complaint, but some people heard my chair squeaking. I guess I need to get a new chair. Anyway, got one of those lift desks. So I don't know why I didn't use it more yesterday. So anyway, hey, I like this. Standing up. I feel like I'm a speaker at a conference or a summit. Hey, good morning, Debbie Nelson Evans. Debbie's actually my sister. Great to see you online, Debbie. Had a quick coffee with her yesterday. Man, she super appreciated yesterday's sessions. We talked a lot about our dragons in our life because everybody's got them. And so yesterday we had a speaker, Dania Douglas Hunt. She talked about our dragons and the fact that, you know what, we can't always slay our dragons, but we can tame them. And so my sister and I were talking about it yesterday a little bit, and we said, you know what? I think some of our dragons have baby dragons. Because when you start unpacking things, like, it's like, oh, I didn't know I had this happening and this going on or whatever. I mean, hey, that's every single one of us, right? And the fact that the biggest dragon, Daniel was saying, was self-doubt. In my life, absolutely. You know, imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing this summit for? Yeah, I've lost 200 pounds, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. No, I'm not. But you know what? I'm a coach and I care about you. And if I can help you in any way, that's what I'm here for. And that's why I brought together all of these incredible speakers, because we've all got a story. We've all got experiences that we can all learn from one another, which makes our journey even better. Having said that, if you would like to get together with me, I'm going to drop a little link in here. You can book a call, and I'll spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes just getting to know you a little bit and finding out what's your journey and what's your hopes and dreams, and seeing whether or not there's a connection and somehow we can help you in that. So, and it's free, no obligation. You can just click on that anytime. Yes, Beth, we change the world one story at a time. Isn't that good? Awesome. Thank you for that, Beth. So we're a couple of minutes out, and you know what? I'll probably start it in, hey, Antoinette. Hey, Antoinette Tuff is on right now in the chat area. She's our last speaker of the day and also CNN hero. Welcome, Antoinette. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be a really big day, folks. A lot of speakers, amazing content. You're not going to want to miss any one of them. So, hey, if you've got to go do something in the day, I get it. But you can get the All Access Pass so that you can watch these at your leisure anytime you want. Go over them. I mean, hey, honestly, I did these interviews, and after watching them again, I'm getting stuff out of it I didn't even get the first time around. I need to interview all these people all over again. Anyways, hey, Shelly's on board. Thank you, Shelly, for joining us this morning. So with no further ado, I'm going to jump on a little bit early, just a minute or so, and we're going to start Beth's session right now called, If It's Not on Purpose, Is It an Accident? Okay, that's not playing. Not a problem, not a problem. I'll just go in and start it here. Okay, small technical difficulty. Let's try this again. Hey everyone, I am so excited that Beth Townsend is joining us today. Now, Beth was only 17, hardly out of high school, and found herself on her own. She had no other choice but to go to work. She climbed the corporate ladder and at a young age became the VP of an operations for a real estate company. Beth was asked a question numerous times in her life, and that was, how did you know your purpose? Well, in her 20s, she had no idea what her purpose was, but realizing the depth of the question, it led her on a journey that continues to this very day. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Daryl. It's so great to be with you. I'm so excited to be a part of this summit. It's exciting to get to see all the other speakers, and I'm going to take notes and learn from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, because we never stop learning, right? I mean,
no.
So, you know, when I ask you to join and be part of this and talk about purpose, you ask the question that really caused me to just like stop and pause
Yeah.
for a moment. And it was, if it's not on purpose, is it an accident? I thought, interesting question.
Well, and the concept of that is based in experience, because
Right.
we've all had accidents in our life. We've all done stupid things, and unfortunately, those stupid things have cost us consequences, and we've had to pay the consequences.
Yeah.
So, it's easy to see someone and they're about to go down a wrong road, and you just want to reach out and say, "Don't do it. I've been down that road, and let me
Yeah.
tell you what's going to happen." It's an accident waiting to happen. But
Exactly. Yeah.
purposeful living is simply choosing a disciplined way to do life. It's about thinking about what you're doing. Like I like to say, think about what you're thinking about, because that's going to lead to what you do. And purposeful living eliminates a lot of the trouble, that we could otherwise put our both feet into, go head first. And so I just think it's much easier to think about what we do before we jump out there and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's certain things, like for instance, a hot stove.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get burnt if you touch it.
Yeah.
Right? Gravity. It doesn't matter who you are, what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that have so many different outcomes. And I think a lot of times people will do something once and say, "Oh, that didn't work, so I'll never try it again." But in fact, it might have worked if they would have done it differently.
Yeah. Well, and in October, I consider myself an amateur athlete, because I've always been a worker outer, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But I was riding my bike and I took a tumble on my bike, and you talked about gravity. Let me tell you something about a head. A head is heavy, and if you fall, you are going to hit your head. And I didn't have on a helmet, and so I cracked open my head. I broke some ribs. I got all kinds of injured. Now I'm better now. But that was an accident that could have been prevented.
Right.
If I'd have worn a helmet and not got distracted by my phone, that accident never would have happened. But instead, I have chosen to learn from that and tell everybody that I can think of, don't get distracted by your phone when you're doing other things, because, people are getting hurt like that a lot. And, do the preventative things in life to help you protect your path towards purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I just turned 60, so I've got a little bit of life experience to know exactly what you're saying is right on.
Yeah.
Let's go back for a moment here. You were 17 years old, out there on your own in every aspect of life. This journey that you went on for purpose is very interesting. Tell us a little more about that.
Well, when I graduated high school, my dad had been married several times, and my mom's marriage at the time had collapsed. So our whole family was in chaos. My single mom raised 5 kids on her own. And so at this point, her life, she was moving away. So she sold our home. I mean, we couldn't pay for it. She had no choice. So at this point, she was moving away. I was the 5th kid, and I was graduating high school. So there was no house, there was no job, there was no. I mean, it was sink or swim time. So
tough times.
Oh, it was so hard. And we talked about this a little bit before. You think you want to get out on your own, and you think you want to become an adult, and you think you want to be in charge of yourself, until all of a sudden you're facing the realities that come with that. And yeah, I was facing those. So, I went to work as a bank teller, and ended up moving off to Virginia to get into the field of property management, because it came with an apartment and it came with a salary, and I had to go where the money was.
Right.
And so that became the field that I climbed the corporate ladder in. And, the reason that I ended up, this is an incredible story, I think, for people to know how attitude can change everything. So I'm a young executive. I've been to Virginia. I've been successful in climbing up a ladder there. I moved to Atlanta, and I become a regional manager for a real estate company.
Right.
And I'm sitting around a corporate table with a bunch of people in suits and degrees and, all stuffy, and, they think they've got it all together. And I'm somewhat intimidated by the level of experience that's around the table. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna listen. But the president of the company had not come into the meeting yet. So prior to that, we're all sitting around this beautiful conference table in this beautiful conference room, and all the talk is, I can't believe the company policy this, and I can't believe he's making us work these hours. And it was backbiting, it was terrible. And then the boss comes in, and everybody's like, rah, rah, go company. And I remember that day, I thought, first of all, I had no plan B. This job had to work for me. I like to say work had to work for me because I didn't have a plan B. So their perspective might have been different, but I didn't have somewhere to go walk out of there because I was angry to something else. But I decided in that moment, I'll never become what they are because they're negative. They're not being truthful. And from that day on, I thought, this is not going to be as hard as I thought it was, paving my way to success. Because I'm pretty sure if I have a great attitude and if I work really hard, I got some tools that are valuable to this company.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that's good. And this is all before we even knew what imposter syndrome was.
Yeah. Yes. And, it's so true. We think that we need to have, and I'm all about experience and I'm all about whatever education you can get. That just wasn't in the cards for me. Mm-hmm. So I had to carve out tools that were going to work for me. And I passed by many people that had lots more education than me, but I was willing to work hard, and I did not, still to this day, don't talk bad about others. If there was a problem within the company, which there were, I went to that person. I was proactive, but I never became that negative Nelly. And I'm so thankful because that's great. Been good for me. Been very good for me.
Awesome. So in your journey, though, you made a conscious decision to seek out people, to interview them, right? To find out what their purpose was and what that looked like so that you could pick pieces and craft, I guess, your own purpose. Tell us more about that.
Well, by the time I had been years into my industry, I was a huge cheerleader for the work that I did because it was what saved me. I mean, yes, I had faith in God, kind of growing on the corner over there, but this industry had been so good to me that I became like a cheerleader. So I could recruit people to come work for us. And so the next thing you know, I'm like a spokesperson. I'm teaching seminars. I'm teaching, how to be great in your industry, how to lead and how to recruit people. And so the next thing you know, I'm still in my 20s and I'm young, but I have learned my industry very well. And I'm all of a sudden up in front of the classes teaching the people that, I thought had so much more experience than me. So because I was good at that and because I was good at my job, people started saying, well, how did you know your purpose? I mean, how did you know what you were supposed to do with your life? And, most of the time it was like, I just want to be able to pay the bills,
Yeah.
But eventually that question sunk a little bit deeper into my soul. And, I still remember thinking, I think purpose may be a God thing. And so maybe I should pray about that. And with that came the, okay, if people wake up every day and they know what God's called them here to do and they're doing it, those are the people I want to learn from. So I started sending out letters to people across the country saying, hey, can I come talk to you about how you knew what God called you to do and how you're doing it? And a lot of people said yes. And that was in 2001, and I'm still doing that today.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So would you say purpose and why are similar, if not the same?
Yes, I would say they are the same because deep down, every person knows they're here for a purpose. This is why so many people are dissatisfied with their work. Yeah. Because deep down, there's that God hole, that, okay, what am I here for? And so, yes, I would say they're the same. But what happens is, and this happened to me and it's happened to most people, is in order to find that one thing that, oh, I'm great at this. This is what God put me here to do. This is where my giftedness is.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to go after everything. We want to do it all because we want to do everything so we don't miss the one thing. Right. And what happens is we miss the one thing because we're doing everything. And, one of the purpose principles that is so great for me, and I probably talk about the most, is knowing your nots. I mean, everybody wants to know who they are.
That's good.
Everybody wants to know what to do. But the most important part of your life is, as a speaker, especially as a Christian speaker, I can say I'm not a Bible teacher, so I don't have to go out and try to become, the biblical scholar. I can go knowing that's not who I am. So, it's not knowing who you are that's so important, because if you know all of who you're not, then who you are begins to freely emerge. And it's not what you put on your calendar that's so important. It's what you choose not to put on your calendar. You have to know your nots. You have to love, accept, embrace everything that you're never going to be, so you can be great at who you really are.
That's good stuff right there. Wow. Just that alone in this session is gold. Knowing your nots. So many people try to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And then they fail at what they do best.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember one time my husband told me to tell a joke on stage, and I botched it so bad. I thought, okay, so I'm not a comedian. I'll tell funny stories. And I do. Most of my stories have a lot of humor in them because they're from people that, that it's just a lot of great real life stories. But I'm not a comedian, but I can tell funny stories. So, I don't have to go out there and try to be something that I'm not. I can sit back and really think about, here's what I'm great at. And, social media plays a lot of tricks on us because
it does. We'll
see people doing all these things. And, I literally tried to copycat. This was something last year. I tried to copycat. I saw a friend of mine do, and I thought, well, that worked so well for her. I'm going to try that myself. And, those things are not going to work. Trying to do what other people are doing because it works for them is a great reason not to do something, because, it's just not going to work. You got to do what's your thing, and you got to let everybody else, as they say today, stay in their lane.
Right. Now, you've got these people who genuinely want to find out what their why is or their purpose. Mm-hmm. Where do they start?
Well, as a coach, I take people through, I build on the pillars of purpose. So one of the pillars of purpose is your physical body. I mean, you know this, and this is part of the summit. You have to look at the energy that you have. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's your energy? And that's one of the questions I get most. Where do you get your energy? And because I have a lot of energy, that's something I've always had. So you have to look at where are you on that scale, because your purpose, you might have to start with some physical changes. You might have to start with some new habits. People, who are the people in your life? Just because you have a lot of people in your life don't mean you have the right people in your life.
Correct.
So you have to turn up voices of the right people, and you have to turn down sometimes turn off voices of other people. So the people in your life have to be very intentional. If you don't have the right people in your life, you got to go out and find them. So you can't just sit home and wait on your team to build. You've got to go, I need an encourager. I need, though you got to think about that. And then the other one is provision. So you got to think about what most people say is holding them back from living their dreams or living their purpose is money. Okay. Maybe that's so. So what's your plan around that? What are some things you can do to begin to map out a plan? Because most of us are doing what we have to do. And that's all we're doing. So you can't just change everything overnight. It's like in the physical sense. Okay, you want to get healthier? Give up soft drinks. Start with one thing. And so I like to build on the people, the provision, and the physical, and really look at those things, because those three things really will determine the team and the support that you've got in place for the other things. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that, because to me, it's all about tribe. It's about community.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so many times we've got people in our lives, even loved ones, we can't necessarily shut them out because we're related.
Right.
But we do have to make a conscious decision to, okay, if I'm going to do this. Folks, it's time to do this.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
It all starts up here.
Mm-hmm.
And so find a tribe. Find a community where you can get the support you need. It is so, so critical to your success.
It
It
is.
absolutely is. Yeah.
And discipline on purpose is doing things on purpose, and that's a disciplined approach. And so, people think, well, I'm going to get healthy. Well, but how? I mean, what are your strategies to get to that? I mean, are you going to quit eating fried foods? Are you going to, my philosophy to health is, I'm going to eat very disciplined during the week, and if I'm going to cheat, I'm going to cheat on the weekends, and that kind of works for me. And
Right.
you have to think of small choices that have big return on investment, because that's how you develop a hunger for discipline. You see that it works, but you have to try something and see, wow, that worked for
Yeah.
me. Then you add one thing at a time.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not a short gain.
No.
You don't see it immediately. It takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
I share this with a lot of people, and you'll hear it several times throughout the summit, and that is, when's the best time to plant the tree? 20 years ago, because now you'd be sitting under the shade and enjoying the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't. So when's the next best time to plant a tree? Right now.
Right now.
Today.
Right now, today. Yeah.
Right now, today.
Mhm.
You're not going to get the shade tomorrow, next week, a year from now, but it will come,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll come in little bits.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And patience.
Very good.
Patience is a big part of purpose, because we seek progress, not perfection, because we all want to leap towards an immediate win. And there are some of those. There are some things that are just going to produce quick results, but most things require what I call steady plodding over time. Health is one of those things, and healthy is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not a it's choices that you make every day. And I'm 57, so we're at the same age. I have come to the conclusion that if I don't want to wear it, I better not eat it, because if I do, it's going to show up somewhere. So that's what I think about when I see king cake this time of year in Louisiana. Okay, do I really want to see that showing up somewhere else? Nope. So I might have a bite, but the truth is I'm not gonna, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about, if it's not on purpose, is it an accident? And something like, I see so many people out there that all of a sudden something happens in life, and they have the attitude of, wow, this was kind of coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
Was it an accident? It could be diabetes. It could be lots of different things that happen in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, it was kind of on purpose, because you didn't make a choice earlier in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an accident that you have that.
Right.
Right?
That's very true. And I like to say past forward, because your past is only productive. I mean, everybody comes from a broken family. Everybody comes from poor old broken parents. I mean, if you've been a parent, you have a lot more sympathy for the ones you came from.
I got a story. I got to drop this in.
Yeah.
My dad, he was actually born in a shack in the prairies. And he said that they were so poor, they couldn't afford a chimney, so they had to carry the smoke out in pails. Sorry, but you're right. Most of us come from some kind of dysfunctional or some, poor
Every
state of-
family is dysfunctional. I mean, we're in a broken world. From a faith perspective, you see, we're from a broken world. So much like your family, our family, we didn't know how long. Every time we paid a house payment, we thought, okay, we got another month, because
Yeah.
that's how short term we lived. And now, all of us, there's 5 kids. My brother's on to heaven, but there's 4 girls. And we laugh because we all still hoard food. I mean, all of us are empty nesters. And you go into any of our cabinets and you see massive amounts of food. And my husband's like, years ago, he's like, we don't need any more tomatoes. And I'm like, look, let me just tell you something. I'm always going to have more food than we need, because that's something that, it's just part of what makes me feel better, because that's what we did, it's as a result of always wondering, were we going to make it to the next month? Now it makes us feel so much better. But not only is that something that we carried over from being a childhood where you're hoping you don't go hungry. Now, when people come into our homes, we can whip up a meal in 15 minutes. We have, we have hospitality galore, because we understand that we have food that we can give. It's just become something that we laugh about. We get together and I'm like, do you really need any more Cheez-Its, to my sister? And she's like, maybe. It's like, okay, so this is who we are, and it's okay. But it's just a carryover that, you turn into a positive the best you can, and then you just you use what you got.
Absolutely. And some people really have a hard time with that positive mindset. But then again, you know what? Find your tribe, find your community. Mm-hmm. And because, hey, we've been there, done that. Mm-hmm. We know exactly what it's like. You can't pull the wool over our eyes, so we'll tell you the truth when you need it. Mm-hmm. That's the nice thing about, having a support system that are not biased to you necessarily. Because, example, when you're trying to be accountable to a family or a friend, they're not always going to tell you the truth, because they're walking on eggshells around you. Right. Because when they say the truth, you just might lash back at them. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants that. Right. But when you get into a community of people of like mind, been there, done that, hey, they're not going to judge you, because, for every finger pointed forward, they got fingers pointing back, right? Yeah. And we just want to see people succeed. We want to see their lives transformed, not just their body. You know what? Yeah, this thing is a little bit about weight loss. That's because that's my journey. Right. But really, folks, it's mostly about this. It's about finding your purpose, your why, aligning your values, doing all that. We're running out of time, Beth, and sorry for that little bit of a rant there. But what's one last thing that you could just drop on everyone? A little bit of wisdom at the end of the session.
I think that the main thing is to just kind of have a day or two where you kind of sit down with yourself and you give yourself the freedom to pray and to let go of all the things that you're not really going to pursue. This is how I decide if I'm going to do something. As a Christian, it's as for the Lord. If you're going to do something as for the Lord, do it. So if you're not going to do it that well, with that much commitment to excellence, then you need to start taking those off your list. I mean, don't sign up for a Bible study and then not have time to do the Bible study. You're better off not doing it, because you're going to have a guilt trip because you didn't have time to do it. Eliminate that. So whatever you do it better than anybody else. Be your very, very best, and start with words, because, you talked about, the cup half full or the cup half empty mindsets. You can change your mindset by changing how you speak, not only to yourself, but to others. If you begin to listen to what you're saying, you're paving the path to where you're going by what you're saying. You got to change. I can lose weight. I can choose health. I can give up soft drinks. I can choose to give up sugar. You have to begin to say the things you want to become a reality, because if you think them and you say them, then you can then do them, and that begins to change everything. I like to say, change your words, change your world.
Absolutely. Man, this is good stuff. Oh, we could go on for a lot longer.
We could.
Listen, Beth, thank you so much for spending time with us. Now, everyone that's joining this summit, Beth has something that she wants to give you for free. So what is that, Beth?
It's Purpose Principles. So I have been interviewing people since 2001. So with each interview, there's hundreds. I mean, I don't have hundreds in there, but I have purpose principles that are consistent with the people that I've interviewed that I'm going to share with everyone. Right. And these are people that wake up every day, they know what they're supposed to do, and they've shared that insight with me, and I'm sharing it with the viewers.
Wow. I'm going to get that. I'll tell you that right now. Now, also, one person that attends the summit is going to get a free gift from Beth. What is that?
My book.
Awesome.
Book. This is Life on Purpose, and it's You Must Be Led So You Can Lead. I have found in my life that if, I'm a very independent go-getter personality. I have found that if I let God lead me, I do much better at leading others because I have first been led. So this is my faith journey. This is my accidents. This is my on purpose transition. So, and it's sprinkled with interviews. So it's a fun book to read, but it's how I got to where I am today.
Now, is it available on Amazon?
It is. It's available on Amazon, and it's BethTownsend.com. It's Barnes and Noble, and it's easy to find.
Awesome. So Beth just told you 2 different ways that you can get in touch with her. Her website.
Yep.
And you can find her book on Amazon.
Yes. Yay.
Wonderful. And we'll put the links in the chat here so that it's just a click away and you can do that. Anyways, thanks again, Beth, for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you, folks, for spending time with us as well. This has been awesome. Yes. And follow Beth.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Bless you all. Hey, I'm back. I had my mic on mute again. I'm still new to this. Hey, wasn't Beth amazing? Absolutely amazing. I had so much fun on that interview. And I really like Beth's comment in the chat, because Beth's live with us right now in the comments, about putting together a panel sometime. Wouldn't that be amazing? We should do that. Absolutely, we should do that. And so we have a winner for Beth's new book, Life on Purpose, and that winner is Debbie Evans. So Debbie, I will send you a link, an email actually, with Beth's email, and you guys can connect. And so that will be awesome. Let me see here. There we go. Boy, it's a little bit laggy here. I'm not sure what it's like where you're at. But hey, we'll do our best. We hope that everything will go well today. Yesterday we had a little bit of a glitch where one of our sessions kind of stopped halfway between, and there was really nothing I could do but restart it. But hey, we ended up stopping on time anyways, and that worked out really well. Once again, thank you, Beth. That was an amazing session. So many nuggets of gold. I love it. So our next speaker is Danny Williamson, and her topic is Inflammation is the Devil. And she has a new book as well called Wild and Well, Danny's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing. And anyways, Danny is from the South too and is an amazing speaker. I had a wonderful time with her online. And so with no further ado, I am going to play Danny's session. Danny Williamson. Hey everyone, I would love to welcome Danny Williamson today. She's coming to us from Franklin, Tennessee. Danny is a family nurse practitioner, a graduate of Vanderbilt University School of Nursing, nurse midwifery and family nurse practitioner program, and author of her new book called Wild and Wet, Danny's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing.
Wild and well. Wild and well.
Wild and
wet. Wild and wet.
Wild and That was a Freudian slip. I am so sorry.
Interjection ever. Leave it alone. Oh.
Okay. Wild and well. Danny's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing.
Well, not wet, but that's a somebody else had that on the screen this week. I was on her podcast and it said wild and wet, and I said, Louise, That is not the name of my book. And she was horrified. She was horrified. Maybe that's the next book needs to be Wild and Wet.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's a bestseller and you haven't even wrote it yet. Anyway.
I think it's perfect. It's perfect. Okay.
Well, thank you, Danny, for joining us. I have a lot of curiosity about your title, Inflammation is the Devil, because I remember when I was obese, my daughter and I used to chuckle a lot about how big I was, and I would say, oh, I'm just swollen. But really, it's not a joke, right? Because even though I've lost all this weight, I still notice that I suffer from joint aches and pains and just all these little things, right? They didn't go away just because I lost all this weight. Now, your book has a lot of intriguing chapters, but the one we're going to look at today, which I believe is chapter 3, which is Inflammation is the Devil. So, Danny, tell us more about that.
Well, inflammation is the root of 100% of all chronic lifestyle diseases. What's a chronic lifestyle disease, Danny? Well, that's a disease you weren't born with. And obesity is in that realm, right? Lupus for me, irritable bowel syndrome, joint pain, migraine, headaches, fatigue, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease. The list goes on and on and on. Cancer, even. Those are chronic lifestyle diseases. And the underlying cause of 100% of those is inflammation. And so we weren't born, most of us who are listening to this. Now, some of this generation, we know that children are born inflamed already, but I think more so, I'm 56 and I don't know how old you are, but
I just turned 60 January 4th.
Okay, well, I was 56 January 18th, so we're Capricorn.
Oh, wow,
so
there you go.
We turn that inflammation on with decades of chronic dysfunction, right? Bad diet, stress, antibiotics, and antibiotics save people's lives. I'm not saying they don't, but they also create systemic inflammation. Viruses, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, heavy metal, mold, lack of exercise, not pooping, not sleeping, too much stress. That's a huge one for inflammation. No community, being lonely, not having a community. All of those things contribute to the inflammatory response in your body. And we're talking slow, festering, chronic inflammation, not acute inflammation. Say I cut my hand right before I walk in here, right? Or I trip and sprain my ankle. That's acute inflammation where, the white blood cells rush there to the area and try to block it off and fix it and heal it and all that. We're talking slow, simmering, don't even realize it's happening, decade after decade inflammation.
Right.
Yes,
very
it is.
Interesting.
And nobody ever asked. I spent 24 years seeing doctors. Now, I grew up in a complete shithole of chaos, if I can be real blunt about it, in my home. My grandfather died by suicide. My mother attempted multiple times. I was molested by a stepfather and beat up by another one. I had chronic irritable bowel syndrome. Colonoscopy started at age 20. I started in my childhood with lots of inflammation and, of course, eating whatever I want. But that childhood trauma also contributes to that. So you can't miss that as well. It took me 24 years of seeing doctors, being diagnosed with lupus and IBS and depression and anxiety before a doctor ever leaned into me and said, Danny, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? What? After 4 colonoscopies, 4 gastroenterologists, and no one ever asked.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that. I mean, I would have never believed for a moment that what you eat really makes that big of a difference until I had to do a liver shrinking diet for 3 weeks. And so they did a blood test before, okay? And then I had to watch certain types of foods I could eat. Example, things I couldn't have was like, I think it was garlic, and there was certain types of things. And my wife caught on it right away, and she said, you know what? Those are the items that thin your blood. And she said, absolutely, you're right. Anyways, the dietitian, what she did is she managed this diet around what I
Yeah.
like to eat. Certain things, yeah, you shouldn't eat, right? But at the end of that 3 weeks, when I had my blood test, the difference in my blood
Your
viscosity was night and day. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was like, whoa. I would have never
Yes,
believed
and
that
if they were checking your inflammatory markers as well, if they were looking at things like homocysteine and C-reactive protein and sedimentation rate, those are all chronic inflammatory markers and cardiovascular markers. I bet they would have gone down
Right.
beautifully as well during that
Yeah.
time frame. It's fascinating.
Wow.
And food will heal you or kill you. That is a fact. But so will not sleeping,
Yeah.
so will not exercising, so will too much stress. I mean, all those things are also add to. I mean, the diet is key. It's a lifestyle. We call it a lifestyle. But inflammation, your body tells you when it's inflamed.
Mhm.
It is speaking to you,
Right.
and the fact that we choose to ignore
Oh, it screams at you
Screams at you.
sometimes.
that joint pain that I had, I started with
Yeah.
joint pain in college. And no one ever, I mean, my hands would hurt so bad right here in these thumb pads, right here. Like I rarely got a manicure. I mean, you can tell here. But anyway, when I would, or a massage, oh, it would hurt so badly right here. I mean, I don't hurt right now. I can push on that. That was all inflammation. And I had no idea it stemmed from right here. The fried, processed, packaged, bagged, fake, man-made food, right? If it comes out of a box, a bag, a can, or somebody's drive-through window, it's killing you. It's killing you. And it's creating
Right.
systemic inflammation.
Yeah.
And look at our children.
Wow.
Look what we're doing to them every day. Driving through that famous chicken restaurant thinking that that's health food for these kids. And we
Yeah.
are creating nothing but inflammation in these babies.
Oh. And what a time to, like, I have a 7-month-old grandbaby, beautiful little granddaughter. Everybody tells us how beautiful she is. And I'm not just biased because I'm her grandfather. She really is beautiful. But anyways, this is the best time to start children when they're small, so that they adjust to the tastes and everything, as opposed to all of a sudden putting them on all the crap out there that, yeah, their body's going to go, oh, I like that. And then next thing you know, you hook them on a whole bunch of stuff that they're going to spend the rest of their life trying to
You
get
bet.
out.
You bet. We have an opportunity right now, your listeners who are watching this, to change the entire trajectory of their children's and their grandchildren's lives if they only
Yeah.
do it. Only do it. This is the
Right.
first generation of children who are going to die before their parents. The CDC released that research probably 8 or 9 years ago. Never in the history of the United States have we buried our children before us until now.
Yeah. And the pharmaceutical company's just going to get richer and richer because they're saying that our kids are going to live older because of technology. And yeah, but imagine all the pills they got to take
That's
to
exactly
get there.
right. When your healing literally lies at the end of your fork. It's, and then your movement and your sleep and your stress and your pooping. I mean, how well your body can detox on its own is key to your lifespan and to healthy living. But inflammation is the root. It's the root. And when you decrease the inflammatory response in your body, it's unbelievable how much better you feel. That puffiness in your face goes down. You don't have to be overweight to be puffy and swollen and inflamed looking. I mean, that's all inflammation. And you don't realize it until you start to lose that. Not necessarily losing weight, just losing the puffiness.
Yeah. Wow,
It
that's
is.
amazing. Now, here's the problem that I see with probably a lot of people that are watching this right now is, they might be they've already passed 40. So they're getting to that age where it's increasingly more difficult to shed those few pounds here and there. But they got to start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. For me, it was 3.5 years ago, just something happened. And I had all kinds of moments in my life where I should have made a change, but I never did, right? And I won't get into the whole thing here because that I'll cover later in the Transformation Summit. But my hopes is that people that are watching this will get to that place where it's like, I get it. Now is the time to make a change. And everybody's going to be at different levels in terms of their health. I believe it's 90% up here. But hey, let's face it, our body is part of this journey, and we all have different things happening, whether it's diabetes or different things, right? So for someone that's already in their 40s and they've already, I hate to say it, but wasted the first 40 years of their life, where do they start? How do they start?
Well, that's a perfect question, and I didn't know you were going to ask that because I was 44 years old whenever Dr. Kalb looked at me that day and said, "What are you eating?" I had just graduated from nurse practitioner school. I was old in my class. I was old. I was the oldest one. And where he started me, now I was not overweight, so I have not had that problem. Mine was just sick, lupus and joint pain and IBS and all. Where he started me was an elimination diet. He started me with a small elimination diet, which does not sound small to many people. Cutting out gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, and peanuts, the top 7 inflammatory foods in the country. Those are the top 7. Those are the top 7 foods that show up on people's food allergy or food sensitivity test.
Right.
They're in everything fake food. They're in everything fake food. And people say, what am I going to eat? Which is exactly what I said. I had just gotten off of food stamps. 5 years of food stamps, feeding my kids. What did I feed them while I was in school? All the gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, corn, eggs, and peanuts that, could stand. But here's what you're going to eat. You're going to eat all the fresh, one ingredient, God-made food you can stand, right? Fish, chicken, lamb, turkey, beef, all the vegetables, all the nuts, all the seeds, all the fruit, all those great one ingredient foods. That's where I start people. Now people go, oh, I can't do all that at one time. Okay. Then cut one thing out. If I was going to do one thing, it would be either gluten, dairy, or sugar, one of the 3 white devils. Gluten, dairy, sugar.
Okay.
I don't care. Pick one. Whichever one is your kryptonite. For me, it's dairy.
Yeah.
I love cheese. I don't like milk and yogurt. So pick one. Sugar. Sugar is the root, too. I mean, think about sugar. Sugar, I'm not so sure that sugar's not worse than gluten. And gluten is the big one that I work with in my office. Sugar is so addictive.
Yeah.
So start small, small, and as you run out of the packaged, processed, bagged, fake Franken food in your house, your cabinet, your refrigerator, your freezer, don't bring it back in. We eat the same 5 or 6 or 7 meals our entire life. We cook our kids the same food over and over. We only eat about 12 to 15 different foods. Do you know how many foods are out there? Hundreds and hundreds of things. How often do you go buy a rutabaga, Daryl?
Oh, what is a rutabaga?
How often do you go buy a daikon radish or an artichoke or a big thing of turnips and cook those up? Not very often.
Yeah,
that's right. And we have all of those great foods to eat. Eat them in season. Yeah. Strawberries are not designed to be eaten 12 months a year. Grapes aren't either. Eat them in season and eat them as clean as possible. I'm a fan of one ingredient food. That's where I start people, is starting by changing what's at the end of their fork.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If anything I've learned in the last 3 years is, one of the things I'm talking about is you don't need another diet. Okay. I honestly believe you can eat from the 7 food groups and still lose weight.
You bet you can. If
I wish I'd have learned this years ago, but I learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. I don't think it's a process you ever stop.
No, the Mediterranean lifestyle, that's the lifestyle that I work with in the office. I think it's the greatest life. I call it a lifestyle. It's a Mediterranean diet, they call it. And it's fresh food. It's every single food group. The Mediterranean lifestyle has dairy and eggs in it and things like that. But, they're eating fresh, clean food. Most people in the Mediterranean. I'm a big believer that you can eat most anything once you heal the gut, but you've got to heal that gut first. There's a season that you have to have an elimination. You just do, because this is one tube from the mouth to the anus. And when it is inflamed and leaky, it's on fire. I don't care if you're eating good food or
Yeah.
bad food, your body's on fire. So we want to heal that leaky gut, bring those tight junctions back together, decrease the inflammation, the bloating, the gas. You can eat about anything you want in moderation, and also decrease
Yeah.
your portion sizes. You and
Yes. Amen.
you and
Absolutely.
I can't eat what I ate 5 years ago, the same amount of food. I can't eat it. You can't either. The older we get, we still tend to eat the same food we ate when we were the same amount when we were 25 and 30, 35, 40, 45. Hello?
Yeah.
My metabolism has gone down. And I know if mine has, and I got a lot of energy, yours has too. So we need to decrease the portion sizes, don't we?
We do. Oh my goodness. I can tell already we could go on and on for like a couple of hours on this topic.
It's
I had
common
no
sense,
clue.
Daryl. You know this.
Yeah.
And that's what the entire book says. Danny's common sense steps to radical healing. This is common sense,
Yeah.
practical medicine. And if your healthcare provider is not helping you with this journey, common sense, right? This is not a
Yeah.
Nexium deficiency going on with you, or a,
Right.
I mean, metformin, it could be anything. List any drug. You're not deficient in that, right? You're treating a symptom when we take that. You're not treating the actual root cause of the heartburn or the joint pain or the migraine headaches. If you have a healthcare provider who's not listening to you and not saying, Daryl, let's figure out what's going on here. Let's figure out this. I know you've got heartburn, but it's not, that's a symptom of something else going on. Then you need to find a new healthcare provider, because I tell my patients every day, I work for you. I work for you. And if I'm not helping you find the root cause, like I had a patient today, 9 years old, he has Down syndrome. He was born with Down syndrome. That did not change. He did not turn that on. But he wasn't born hypothyroid, and so he's got some thyroid issues, and he wasn't born with leaky gut. I can work with all that. I can't turn off the Down syndrome. I mean, there's a difference there. But most of us were not born with Down syndrome, or we weren't born with cerebral palsy. Most of us were born healthy. We turned it on. I'm living proof. What you turn on, you can turn off.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Danny. We are running out of time. We've got to do another session. Listen, you touched on 3 of the devils already, and what they were what?
Dairy, sugar. Gluten, dairy, sugar. Those are the 3
Gluten,
white
dairy,
devils.
sugar. Oh my goodness. Listen, Danny, we've got to end our session here, but I'd love for you to tell the people what gift that you're going to provide someone that attends the Transformation Summit will be.
Someone's going to get the hardback copy, and I don't have it in here, the hardback copy of Wild and Well, Danny's
Wild and Well.
number one on Amazon when it was released in November. It went number one for 3 months, actually, on new releases. It's a good book. Common sense, practical medicine. My 6 steps: eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, commune well. And then the first section deals with adverse childhood experiences and inflammation. Somebody gets that book. So
awesome. And of course, if they want to buy the book, they can go to Amazon. And get it there. Now, they can also visit you on your website, right?
DannyWilliamson.com. Everything you need is there. The links to everything I do, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all there. I give away so much free education every week. Education on everything, on all the social media channels. And I do a live show on Sunday nights on Facebook. So,
okay. Speaking of which, hey, anyone that's watching this, you can go to, Danny has a special page that you can go to where you can get a free...
It's a swapping list. So when you go to my website, it'll pop up. Do you want to be on our email list? Yes, you do. You'll get you'll get a swapping list. So if you're eating, gluten tortillas, wheat tortillas, it'll say, swap it for a cassava tortilla, or, it'll swapping list, dairy for coconut, milk stuff. Yes, that. And we also, for your group, we lowered our price of the Inflammation is the Devil course from $129 to $29. That's up there.
Wow.
I think courses.
What a deal.
You just click on courses and it'll pop up and you can go in and out of it. And it really breaks down inflammation, how it starts and how to heal it and what to do. Because
right. Hey, listen, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today. Super appreciate it. And we're definitely going to have to
let's do it. And I just want everyone to know you're not broken. You weren't born broken. You never were broken. You may not be optimal where you need to be right now, but I'm telling you, you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And you can turn whatever it is going on with you around one step at a time. It took you probably decades to get here. It's going to take you longer than 4 days to get out of this. But if you just keep doing it one foot in front of the other, you're going to be that's
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You can do it
because
we believe in you.
We believe in you. I do.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much, Danny. And
thank
until
you so
next
much,
time.
Daryl.
Hey, everyone. You can do it. Wasn't that amazing? Wow. Inflammation is the devil. I learned so much in that session that I'm glad I watched it again. I'll probably watch it another time because it was so good. We have a bonus session with Danny where we talk about what if I need to eat differently than the rest of my family? How do I do that? Because, there's many of us who are raising a family and kids are going to school, our husbands, your husbands might be working. And so, they need more higher calories just to sustain themselves throughout the day. And so they eat maybe differently than the way you need to change. And let's face it, because we're changing, we can't necessarily always force that on our families. They're part of our journey, but they're not in our journey sometimes. So, we need to start taking care of ourselves. And when we do that, the trickle effect is beneficial for everyone in our family. So anyways, very, very good. Inflammation is the devil. And so we do have a winner for Danny's new book, which is called Wild and Well, Danny's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing. And so the winner is, congratulations, Shelley Smith. You will get her new book, Wild and Well. And so, Shelley, I will reach out to you through email and connect you with Danny, and you guys can work on that, how she'll send the book to you. Hey, and her course, wow, what a value. Again, if you go into the download page, which is accessible to everybody that's registered, you will see Danny in there, you'll see Beth, you'll see all the speakers, and then you'll see a link to their website where you can get more information about them and find out about Danny's course, Beth's, and then we've got a wonderful lady coming up next, Leah Hemstreet, and she actually is in the city where I live, which is Chilliwack, and she suffered from some health issues as well, which she'll talk about in her session. And in her journey, she ended up helping people with their health and wellness. So I'm really excited about today's sessions. They're just absolutely amazing. I can see that you're enjoying it, and you had a good laugh at my expense on the last one, and we just had to keep that in. Danny was an absolute hoot. Enjoyed it so much. So I am going to load up Leah Hemstreet's video now called 4 Weeks Forever Health and Wellness. So take it away, Leah. Hey everyone, I am delighted to have Leah Hemstreet join us today. Now, Leah is a lifestyle health coach, personal trainer, and nutritionalist. She's been in the health and fitness industry for the past 30 years and owned her personal training nutrition studio for 15 years. Leah loves to inspire and support her clients by teaching them how to live a life they love. Welcome to the program, Leah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, when I asked you to be a guest, my first thoughts were to invite someone who obviously has experience and is you have to be passionate, which I know you are, about helping people in a safe and sustainable way. so they can maintain and improve their health and mobility, of course. Now, a lot of the people that are watching this, they might just be starting in their journey. Now, for me, I've already lost 200 pounds. And of course, you know, the up and the down is kind of normal. But when you lose that kind of weight, you lose a lot of muscle mass. And so I've got to go to the next level myself. You know, although I walk and bike and I'm very active in cardio, I need to start strengthening my muscles. So that's my journey. But not everybody watching that has, you know, hit their goal weight, and so they're into the next level of wellness, which never ends, folks, right? This never ends. So we kind of want to hear from you a little bit more. You have a topic called 4 Weeks to Forever Health and Wellness.
Yes.
And so pairing health and fitness, that marriage together is super important. We can't separate them, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your story, Leah.
Well, I got into the health and fitness industry probably about 30 years ago. And I learned through an illness that I had at the time how important it was to balance the body, mind, and spirit. So I started taking not only the personal training, I started with fitness classes. I later worked into joining, oh dear. Sorry. Oh.
Just keep going. Just pause for a second and keep going. I can cut that out.
So I come upon wanting to, this is terrible. I think it's because I see myself. Like, if I didn't see myself on the screen, I wouldn't be struggling right now. Okay, I gotta pause. Cut all of that out.
Okay.
So about 30 years ago, I started in the health and fitness industry, teaching classes, later getting into some personal training, helping clients, managing gyms. But through an illness that started when I was about 30 years old, I decided to really get into the nutrition side of things. I wanted to focus more on how do I heal my body from the inside out. I struggled with chronic fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome. I was diagnosed with Crohn's. I was really struggling. I didn't feel well at all. So my thoughts were, well, I can take this course. I don't necessarily need to be a coach in it, but I surely can coach myself and teach my family as well. So that's kind of where the nutrition part started. And
so it was really a personal journey to start.
Absolutely.
Because you needed to focus on your health so that you could live a better life, not just for yourself, but your family.
Absolutely. And with race,
I think what's interesting too is, is, you know, we don't have to be overweight to have these types of issues and problems.
No, that's true.
It touches everybody.
That's right. And I, to be honest, have never really struggled with my weight. I mean, I graduated from high school and I was probably 10 pounds heavier than I am now, but I've been able to maintain that for the last 30 years, my weight. Besides 3 pregnancies, I went up. I didn't gain a lot, maybe 25 to 30 pounds each pregnancy, but then I knew how to take it back off again in a safe way. And I've been able to maintain my weight all these years. So that's been a good thing. But, you know, just because someone isn't struggling with their weight, I mean, there is internal things that happen too. So for myself, I have always eaten pretty clean, but having such a clean diet really impacted my body. I didn't, you know, if I was to go eat something like a hamburger or French fries or something like that, I'd suffer really bad. To the point of almost needing to go to the hospital because my body just didn't know what that food was. So squeaky clean isn't always the answer either, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You have to really find that balance and moderation when it comes to food and have a healthy relationship with food. So for myself, I eat to live versus live to eat. So I
Right.
want to have everything in moderation, still join in birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. But I know the foods that trigger me. And I know, say, if I've had a few days of not great eating, we're all there. It happens to all of us. I know how to get myself back on track. I'm not off
Yeah.
for very long.
That's good.
As
Yeah. I'm really encouraged at the fact that you discovered this and started working on it. I would say earlier in life, right? So you were in your
Yeah.
30s. Yeah. Man, I wish I could go back in time.
I know.
You know, it's like the Rod Stewart song, you know, I wish I knew then what I know now. But hey, I can't go back in a time machine,
Yeah.
but I can start. I started 3 years ago.
Do you know
folks.
what I always think
And
about?
It takes time, but you got to start somewhere,
and
right?
that's right. And you know what I always think about is, was it the man that developed Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was like 65 to 70 years old and became very successful later in life? So he found
Yeah.
something he loved to do, and he still went forward and followed his dream. It doesn't matter what age you are. I think my
Right.
oldest client was 92 years old. So,
Wow.
and she was determined to ride an elliptical, get down on the floor, do sit-ups. You know, she wasn't scared of anything. She just wanted to live. And she's still living
Yeah.
today, by the way, and doing
Wow.
really well.
Good for
And
her.
you know, like, age is just another factor in life. You know, like, we can be as young as we want to be, and it all comes down to our spirit, right? So when we're
Right.
following something we love to do, it's really easy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the reason why it's really good to know your why
Yeah.
and your purpose. So, let's go back for a second here. You talked about clean eating and maybe not so clean eating, but finding that balance, right? So how important is it for every single person to really find what works for them? Because part of what you do is nutrition.
Yes.
And I'm sure that every single client you have has a different story, has different symptoms, different things going on. So is it like customized for every single
It
person?
is, in a way. I don't think any of us eat exactly the same diet. I could give out
Right.
a nutrition program for, just as an example, I have a Mama's Challenge running right now. So I have 17 different ladies on my 4 Weeks Forever program. So I can send out one example of, you know, what to do or what to start, you know, filling your fridge with, and how to start preparing a healthy meal plan. But all of these 17 ladies that are sending me in their food logs daily are all different. Some don't like the same
Right.
food. Some can't eat that kind of food. Some of it's traditional. Some of it's the ethnicity, like they don't like that kind of food. So you
Right.
really have to work with what is going to be the most valuable for yourself and your family, and how can you create a diet plan or a meal plan that doesn't just suit you but suits your lifestyle, so you can be really reasonable with yourself. And
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think, like, in my journey, I had a nutritionalist assigned to me, which is probably the best thing that ever happened, because up until then, I really had no clue what I was
Right.
doing. Really. And she said, Daryl, what do you like to eat? So I started making a list.
yes,
She looked over the list. She says, okay, this is okay. This is okay. You know what? You probably shouldn't have, you know, garlic coil sausages from whatever, because all the processed blah, 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 blah. And she really helped define a program for me based on the foods that I like.
excellent.
And it was amazing. And I'm a great proponent of that. And I think everyone should have a nutritionalist on their team.
I agree.
Because otherwise, if you're just out there trying to do it on your own, folks, you're going to get flustered, frustrated, and you're just going to quit.
That's so true. And you know, I gotta say, like, when I started as well on the journey trying to find a healthier me, I had a nutritionalist. I saw a dietitian at the hospital, and she really helped me it wasn't just about, oh, okay, you go home and you eat this. She really wanted to educate me about foods. So she was a big part of my journey, and probably a portion of that is how I can coach my clients today, because I learned directly from her how to do it properly to begin with. And, like it's so important. I have a health team, not just a nutrition lady that I want to talk with for myself, but a massage therapist, an acupuncturist, a reflexologist. I really believe in having a support system that can really cheer you on, but if you're not feeling good, get you back to where you want to be in a safe way. And like it's so important.
For years I just had my head in the sand, really. There was at one point the doctor says, you know what, you really have to start watching out for type 2 diabetes, because it's in my family on my mother's side. My grandmother died from it in the 70s, and I had to go to a dietitian, like you did. Except, I'm sad to say, I was not very serious about it. I did a lot of joking, minimalizing things. She says, you need to eat a lot more fiber. I says, well, if a Big Mac is 1,700 calories, if I eat 1,700 whatever of fiber, will I be okay? Just the plus minus thing. Because as a guy, sometimes we process that way. We go, oh, well, if I work out and I do so many calories, and then I consume so many calories, plus minus math.
Yes.
How come I'm not losing weight? It doesn't always work that way, does it?
It doesn't, and that comes back to the relationship with food, but it also comes back to the quality of food that you're eating. So when you don't have the right protein, fat, and carb combination, the body isn't functioning as well. So it's, someone can eat 1,700 calories in potato chips, and you're right, it's a mathematical game. 1,700 calories going in, I should be able to function on this, but the body needs more nutrients, more healthy food to function properly.
Yeah. Man, I have learned so much since I had a nutritionalist in my life. She's not in my life now, because I've learned so much in the last 3 years that, I've kind of graduated to do it on my own. But understanding the value of food, how to read labels. I mean, all this different stuff. And I like what you said earlier about how you're working with all these ladies and every day they're sending you their food log. For me, that has been probably one of the most powerful tools to keep me on track and to be able to maintain where I'm at even now, was the fact that I keep a journal for over 3 years now. I can go into my MyFitnessPal and I can see every single day. I can run a graph on everything. I mean, it's been amazing. I kind of gamified it, so it's fun for me to put it in.
That's really good.
But the benefits long term are worth it, because now you can look back at a snapshot in time and go, okay, where did I go wrong?
And that's exactly right. And you build your foundation along the way. And that's what I do with my 4 Weeks Forever program. As I start sending in the logs, but even after 4 weeks, we can look back and go, look where you started, and look where you are 4 weeks from now and what's working. So it's very helpful. And I think one of the most powerful tools as well, for sure.
Right. Now, I want to go back to when you first started. You started because you were having some health challenges. Yes. You knew that you needed to make some changes. Did you reverse any of those problems, or do you still live with some of them, and what does that look like?
Well, that's a good question. I was able to take out dairy, take out gluten for 1 year. However, I lost quite a lot of weight to the point where, to me, I was unhealthy looking. So after about a year of trying to just get my bowels under control, get to a healthier place, I was able to add it back in just a little bit at a time. So sometimes, and what I've learned over the years too, if we're eating too much of the same thing, your body can become too sensitive. So it's kind of like people that eat too much sugar. You're eating too much, your body just kind of starts to build a sensitivity or inflammation based on the one food or the few foods. So taking something out over time keep it out of the diet, reintroduce it is very helpful. So that helped to kind of get my body back on track. But I will say years later, so I'm going to be 49, but when I was about 42, I was diagnosed with lupus. So we don't really know, did I have lupus at the age of 30 when I started going through all that Crohn's? It could have been a flare, but the doctors didn't look into it as deeply then. We don't really know.
Right.
But I went through menopause when I was 42, and I ended up in a really bad lupus flare. So now for the last 6 years, everything that I knew to be true for myself in the way of eating, exercising, all that kind of stuff, didn't completely go out the window, but I've had to learn new ways to keep my weight the same, to keep my pain levels down, because now it's like I suffer with more chronic pain every day. Versus when back then it was just more of a bowel issue. It wasn't a lot of pain once I figured out the chronic fatigue part. So yeah, life is ever changing. And there was another reason why I called my program 4 Weeks Forever, because 4 weeks forever, if we're maintaining ourselves kind of like a car, we're keeping up. We know what's going on. We're aware of the changes being made in our body. And so now to this day, I have to be very aware of not eating certain foods because it can set off a lupus flare, not being under too much stress. Stress can really elevate my inflammation in my body. And to stay on medication, I actually have to take Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine every day now. And medication wasn't something that I ever wanted to be on. So I struggled with that too. I went through probably 2 years of naturopathic medicine and supplements trying to avoid going to pharmaceutical. But I will say there is a place for pharmaceutical because it has helped. Where the natural path, it wasn't a lack of trying. I couldn't get the right combination to just keep the pain down in my body. But now I would say I'm doing pretty good now. Probably about an 8 out of a 10. Call 10 the best. I'm probably functioning at about an 8 today. So
wow. Thank you for your honesty in that, because we think sometimes if I just make this change, I'm changed forever for the better. We are to some degree, but we're always changing. Our bodies are getting older.
They are.
You mentioned that you're going to be 49. I just turned 60. The things that worked for me in my 30s and 40s don't necessarily work for me now.
That's right.
And I also think that a lot of times it's like, I want to play the piano, but I don't want to start with chopsticks.
Yeah.
I just want to play Mozart, right? And so we have this idea in our head that not only is it all or nothing, but we want to see that transformation like tomorrow. But muscle, people that are muscle men, they didn't get that overnight. It takes time, right? And it takes time for us to transform our bodies and our minds. And sometimes we're so far along in that journey in a negative perspective that if we waited for all the health things to kick in, it might be too late.
That's right.
So it's important that we see our medical doctors and our professionals and say, hey, I need help.
I agree.
Right? So, so I love your honesty that you're saying, you're doing some medications because it's helping you.
It is.
I think we need to be aware of that and not just poo-poo it. Right?
Another thing that I really find useful, like I have to go for blood work every month. Sometimes more often than that. I've been on medications where I have to go for blood work 3 times a week. And that's a lot. It's a little bit draining, but it keeps you know what's internally going on. So I really encourage people at least once a year, have that checkup with your doctor, have all your blood work run, have your vitamin levels run, because you need to know there's not really a point in taking too many supplements if you don't know why you're taking them. You should know why you're putting supplements in. So, and I do believe in supplements.
That's a good call that you said that, because that's one of the requirements that I had to do was blood work. to find out where I was
Yeah.
at. And then the nutritionist would also take that information and then work my nutrition plan around that as
Yes,
well. Right?
absolutely. And that's what
I'm glad you
I
mentioned
do that for people as well. Because, I mean, our vitamin D levels can get low, vitamin B, and then the body's not functioning properly, right? So we
Right.
need to be really mindful of that.
Yeah, there's so much to think about. I mean, this is why for me it's so important that we have community, that we have people in our lives, people like you, Leah,
Yeah.
and some of our great speakers that are coaches that can walk with us in this journey, because they'll be able to impart into us some things that we never even thought of.
That's right. That's right. I agree. And it's so
Yeah.
important to have a support system and someone that's a cheerleader. I know that I'm always the biggest cheerleader for my clients. I want to see them succeed. I want them to have a happy and healthy life. And sometimes they're not getting those things at home or in a workplace or through the right friends. So, it helps get people to the place that they want to be. And
Right.
yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your 4 weeks to forever health and wellness. You have these ladies that are in this journey
Yeah.
with you, and you do this several times in the year with different groups of
I
people,
do.
right?
I usually will run, it's probably going to be every month now that I will run an actual challenge for those kinds
Right.
of people that are a little bit more competitive. Some people strive to, get into a challenge, and they like having other people to kind of compete against, and that's okay because it is a healthy journey. So I love the community that comes out of running a challenge like that. But I also run my 4 weeks forever as a self-paced individual program too, where I can just work one-on-one with people, and it doesn't have to be in a challenge setting. So yeah,
Right.
it can be again what the person needs and what will be the best form of support for them.
Right. So we're getting close to the end of our session. So if somebody wants to say, hey, Leah, I need this 4 weeks forever health and wellness plan, how would they best get in contact
Okay,
with
so
you?
they can log on to my website at Inspired Changes Health and Wellness, and my 4 weeks forever is right on the front page. So they click the link, it brings them right to the program, and they can actually pay online. So it's very easily set up to access, and the program will start right away. And
Right.
it
Excellent.
kind of flags me and lets me know they're ready to begin. So then I will contact them as well. They can call me.
Right.
So my phone number is 604-845-9542. Give me a call. We can talk about it, find out what you need, and get started that way. And then Instagram, I have Inspired Changes Health. So I have lots of links on there and different ads and things that they can read through and kind of learn about it.
Right.
And I have Facebook as well. So I think I'm on every social media. Yeah.
Excellent. So what if somebody says, I don't live in the same city as you do. How does that work where I can join this 4 weeks of forever health and wellness, but, I'm like 1,000 miles away, or how does that work?
Was the beauty of creating the program. I created it for all of my friends on the Sunshine Coast, and so they're 4 hours away from me. So this was how this program was born, was to help people online in different parts of the world. So I have a lady in Australia on the program right now. So, and I live in Chilliwack,
Wow.
BC. So
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
amazing. Log on.
We actually have some ladies that are watching this from New Zealand.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can be anywhere. And I mean, that's the beauty of the internet now, right? We can FaceTime just like I'm FaceTiming with you. We can talk on the telephone. Email runs back and forth wherever you are. And yeah, you can access the program anywhere. As long as you have the internet, you're good to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Now listen, everyone that's watching this, that's attending the summit, Leah's got something for you as a free gift. What is that?
I
Leah?
have a journal. So that will be attached to our program. So if you log on, you will get a free journal to help you start logging your food. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. And then last but not least, some lucky person
Yes.
that's attending the live summit is going to get a free draw, and they're going to get something special from you.
Yeah,
What is that?
they're gonna win the 4 Weeks Forever program. So we'll have a month
Awesome.
to share, and I will support you every step of the way.
That is so great. I'm so happy that you could join us,
Thank
Leah.
you.
And I'm so happy that all of you folks could join us as well. Leah's an amazing girl. She's got so much knowledge that she's learned over the years, and I know that she can help you as well. And so follow her on her website, her LinkedIn, wherever she's at. Anyways, we're going to drop all of her stuff into the chat area, and we'll provide it in the All Access Pass area as well. Once again, thank you, Leah, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thank you, Leah. That was wonderful. Your 4 Weeks Forever program. We have a winner. And I'm going to post it right now. Congratulations, Joe Ellen Kruger. You're the winner of Leah's program, 4 Weeks Forever Health and Wellness. So I will reach out to you and send you an email, and it will include Leah's email so that you guys can get together on that and arrange how that will work out for you. Awesome. Wonderful. So what are you doing for a program? Haven't thought of it? You know, mobility is really important, especially as we get older. I mean, my goodness. I'll give you an example. As we get older, our muscles deplete naturally. We can't help it. So we need to really focus on, of course, food, like protein builds our muscles. You learn a lot when you get into this, but you also need to be mobile, right? And my dad was having cramps. He's 83. He was having cramps in his calf quite often. And so I told him that. I says, you know, Dad, as you get older, your muscles deplete. So, you know, unless you're really focused on that, you know, these things are going to happen. And so I asked him, I said, how many grams of protein are you eating every day? I asked this actually to a lot of people, and everybody goes, I don't know. Most people don't, right? We don't, some of us count calories, but we don't look at the value of the food itself. Anyways, I said, you know, the average man needs around 50 grams of protein per day just to maintain your muscle mass. So I challenged him, and so he went out and got some ISO protein mix, and he uses like a half a scoop every day. And ever since he started that, he has little to no cramps. Isn't that amazing? Just because focusing on protein, my goodness. Going back to Danny's session, even talking about, you know, our health is at the end of our fork. It really is. And, you know, listening to Leah's story, same thing. She touched on inflammation and all the challenges that she had, even though she never had a weight problem. So transformation isn't always about weight, right? It's about our personal journeys, whatever that looks like, our journey to get healthy, to get more fit, right? So we can live longer, more productive lives and enjoy our families, right? And the things we love to do. You enjoying this? I am, absolutely. Again, welcome Joe Ellen for winning this awesome gift today. So our next speaker is a therapist, and his name is Mark Eshelman. And we're going to talk about gaslighting in relationships. I didn't even know what the word gaslighting was. When I first heard that, I was like, what? And I was talking to a family member just the other day, and she was like, what? Yeah, gaslighting. What is that? So we're gonna dive into that a little bit and how it affects our relationships. Very, very interesting, because, you know, some of us have in our journey, some of us have baggage that we need to go a little deeper in, a little deeper than maybe what coaches can help you with. And so having a therapist help you on some of these things is definitely going to be beneficial. And that's why I invited Mark Eshelman to come on the program, because I really wanted him to address gaslighting, what that is, how people have control over relationships and people through gaslighting. Anyway, you know what? I could go into this whole thing. It's an exciting session. Matter of fact, the session is about 46 minutes long, but you're going to want to listen to the whole thing because it is well worth your time. Hey, and if you can't spend the whole time on here, this will be live for the next 24 hours. And then after that, it'll be coming down, and you'll need the All Access Pass. It's only $39, and you'll have lifetime access to all the sessions and the 4 hours of bonus sessions. Because most speakers, almost every speaker has a bonus session where we dive a little bit deeper into topics. Example, with Leah, we were talking about why 2% succeed and 98% fail. That's her bonus session. Very good. Anyway, get that if you don't have it already. That is the All Access Pass. I will put the link in here again. Bang. There you go. All Access Pass. Well, with no further ado, and let me see. It is 9:41, and the next session is supposed to start at 9:40. So we're a minute over. Oh well, not a problem, folks. We're going to queue up the video right now. So let's start our session with Mark Eshelman. Hey everyone, I'm excited and honored that Mark Eshelman is joining us today. Now, Mark and I worked together briefly in 2005, and what he has gone on to achieve is impressive. Today, Mark holds a Master's of Arts in Marriage and Family Therapy, and as additional training in Emotional Focused Couples Therapy, Emotional Focused Individual Therapy, and Attachment Focused Family Therapy. Now, Mark has been providing therapy to individuals, couples, and families for the past decade, and believes that close and emotional connection relationships can be one of the greatest sources of joy and fulfillment in life. Absolutely. Mark has experience working with a range of issues, including couples, marital difficulties, depression and mood instability, anxiety, stress management, traumatic experiences such as childhood abuse and sexual assault, family of origin concerns, and spirituality. In his work with couples, he provides counseling for conflict, relationship dissatisfaction, infidelity, intimacy, trust, and sexual issues. Wow, Mark, I'm just absolutely impressed.
Thank you. That's quite a big introduction.
Yeah, and
it sounds deep, but it just comes back to, the issues and the challenges, the emotional, relational challenges of life that we all face. And so, it's been a privilege to work with couples and families and individuals over the past decade. I've learned a lot.
And the reason why I wanted Mark to join us at this summit was when I lost all my weight. I lost a majority of it fairly quickly. And the therapist I was talking to at the time, they told me a statistic that was quite alarming, which was people that experience significant weight loss quickly, many of them end up, around 85%, end up in either divorce or separation. And that really bothered me, actually, to hear that kind of statistic. However, I remember back in, I think it was mid-80s, late 80s, we had some friends that went through that, and they ended up divorcing, unfortunately. So I've seen it firsthand. So it really caused me to think a little bit deeper, like, why does that happen? And so one of the things that came to me was, imagine all of a sudden one person in a matter of 12 months drops from like me, 400 pounds down to 200 pounds. I didn't do that quickly, right? I lost 60 pounds really, really slowly, and then bang, I lost a lot quickly. Your outward body changes, right? So it's not just, people don't know what's going on in my mind. They can actually physically see it. And in some relationships, what happens is, and it happened to me a little bit in terms of, my confidence went up, right? People are coming up to you saying, man, you look great. One lady came up to me and goes, wow, you're amazingly handsome. Nobody ever did that kind of stuff before, right? But here's my wife in the journey with me, hearing all of this. Now, my wife's an amazing support, and we're really solid. But there are relationships where I think the other spouse doesn't appreciate the fact that suddenly they're getting more confidence. People are giving them compliments. They can no longer control them like they used to. It really made me think, okay? And so somebody reached out to us on one of the social media channels, and we hadn't heard or seen or whatever from her for like a long time. Found out that her and her husband had split up. And it had nothing to do with weight, though. But she brought up the word gaslighting. I had never heard of that word before. So what did I do? I went to Google. And so I'm just going to quickly give you the background of what I found, okay?
Where we all go these days.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Google. No, anyway. So where did it come from? Well, interesting. It came out in 1938 by a play written by Patrick Hamilton called Angel Street. But what made it popular was Alfred Hitchcock created a movie called Gaslight. Now, it was a suspense film. A manipulative husband tries to make his wife think she is losing her mind by making subtle changes in the environment, including slowly and steadily dimming the flame in the gas lamp. Not only does he disrupt her environment and make her believe she's insane, but he also abuses and controls her, cutting her off from family and friends. Consequently, the wife begins to second guess herself, her feelings, her perceptions, her memories. Additionally, she feels neurotic, hypersensitive, and out of control, which is the goal of gaslighting. Isn't that something? I couldn't believe it. And then, of course, it goes on to say that psychologists and counselors began to label this emotional abusive behavior as gaslighting.
Yeah, and I think that's a great definition, Daryl. Like in general, we kind of, and of course, this term gaslighting's really gained popularity kind of over the past decade, 2 decades with, pop psychology becoming more popular. This is psychology becoming very popular in mainstream culture in North America. And so you're hearing this term, you're seeing lots of articles written by people in the psychology profession, bloggers, videos. And so people trying to navigate what this behavior is. And I think, you touched on 2 important points. In general, gaslighting is making someone question their own reality.
Right.
But I think you touched on the important point that people need to differentiate is, clinically, therapists, we think of it as a form of psychological abuse. And whenever we use the term abuse, abuse kind of denotes something that's repetitive. It's a way of relating or behavior that is repetitive. It's not a one-time thing, but it would be someone in your world consistently or repetitively relating to you this way. That's kind of a general kind of way of defining when we use the word abuse. It's ongoing and continual. And so gaslighting's kind of a form of, for me, it's a form of emotional and mental abuse where, you're causing that person to question their own beliefs, their own perceptions, even their own memories. When that abuse is of a stronger nature, it can get right down to denying facts of events.
Wow.
Pretending that events have been forgotten. So in my world, this is in my world of being a therapist, I tend to see this coming up in intimate relationships. So when I'm working with couples, partners, this behavior sometimes comes into the therapy room and is evident in relationships.
Wow. And it made me think about, how have I actually gaslit my wife? I'm saying that live. That's terrible, but it made me really think and go, okay, because we all can be manipulative in a little way, right? We really, really want something, so we kind of manipulate the facts slightly just so that we can, build up a case why we should buy that or blah blah blah. But is that different?
Yeah, I think when we're thinking of the traditional term of gaslighting, again, we're talking about repetitive behavior. But I like what you're saying in the sense of, when you get down to it, this behavior or action of gaslighting is really about control.
Right.
And you said that earlier. It's kind of about control, whether it's in intimate relationships or parent-child relationships or friendships. And really, you could say for people where we're talking about that more evident gaslighting that's indicative of abusive behavior, you could really say for that person engaging in that behavior, it's about an excessive need for control. But I think as partners in relationships, it's always good to ask ourselves, when I start to change the details or, kind of hide details, and I'm kind of engaging in controlling behavior with my spouse, what is that about for me? And
right.
and oftentimes, you use that other word, manipulation, and often when people are saying someone's manipulating me, what they're really saying is that person is not openly and directly communicating with me, right?
Right.
We're kind of doing a roundabout. When we manipulate someone, we're not communicating openly and directly. We're kind of manipulating. We're doing a roundabout. And
right.
So it's always good for us to ask ourselves if we notice, whoa, I'm doing something controlling. I'm doing something, because we don't develop trust and we don't develop intimacy when we try and control a partner or control a child or control a friend or control a colleague, right?
Right.
That doesn't create connection that's got a healthy foundation. So, people, when we talk about people engaging in gaslighting, though, that need for control is just more excessive. It's a stronger need for control. And so, gaslighting is indicative ultimately of controlling another person, in a more overt kind of way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because with couples, there's three major things that affect every couple: money, communication, and kids.
Yeah.
So it's a big topic, and it's a big problem, obviously. But are there different levels of gaslighting, or?
Yeah, and I would say yes. So there's kind of different forms of gaslighting. Two of them that I see quite commonly when I work with couples, when a couple comes in and there's, unfortunately, I see couples where there is a bit of an abusive dynamic going on, and that's really difficult, and they're often coming in. And so one of the forms that I often see is where a partner is trivializing or dismissing of the other person. So this occurs kind of when a person engages in belittling behavior or they disregard the feelings of the other person. They may often that can take the form of accusing them. So there's a lot of accusatory behavior. You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. Again, that's kind of a way of dismissing their behavior. You often see that person engaging in that behavior. They've got an angry reaction. So there's often kind of an angry, maybe even a disgust to their emotional tone, their attitude when they're engaging in that belittling or dismissing behavior. It basically, the dismissing or trivializing is sending the message to the other partner, your feelings aren't valid. Your perception isn't valid.
Right.
And that doesn't build connection. That doesn't build intimacy. And when it starts to, again, what we're looking for and what people should be looking for in their closest relationships is, am I experiencing that consistently?
Right.
Like, do I have a partner or a friend or, you know, like someone in my life where I'm constant, when I express my feelings, when I express my thoughts, when I express my perception, do they make space to validate it, whether they agree or disagree, right? We can disagree, but it's actually important that we validate those perceptions. And so when we have someone like a partner, it's often a consistent behavior of invalidating. The more dangerous form or behavior of gaslighting that I see is denial. And so that's when a person pretends to forget events, incidents, or even how they occurred. You know, I've had couples come in where, the gaslighting, that form is active, where there's denial, for example, that the sky is blue. You know, they're both looking at the sky and one person is saying, no, the sky's yellow. And the other person is saying, but I'm sure the sky is blue. And there's this denial even of basic facts or events that have happened in their life or in their relationship. And so I would say when you start to see that type of form of gaslighting, there's a more dangerous dynamic going on in terms of abusive behavior and the consequences that person can be experiencing.
In some of the articles I read, the denying on the gaslighter's side is they actually deny wrongdoing.
Yeah, and so I mean, wow, that's a great comment. I mean, that opens up a whole bigger, deeper conversation that, you know, when you start to read the articles, even the scholarly literature, you know, when we're talking about gaslighting as an abusive behavior, and you'll see it in pop psychology, it's often connected to the gaslighter is often struggling with some type of personality disorder, or, you know, you hear this term narcissism. I don't like putting that label on everybody. I'm very cautious about labels. So often I'll refer to it as narcissistic ways of relating. And it's very common that a gaslighter personally struggles with taking responsibility for their own behavior. Right? That's often why the dynamic is hard to address and hard to change or find healing in when it happens in intimate partner relationships, because the gaslighter has a hard time taking responsibility for their own behavior and looking at themselves.
Right.
Like holding a mirror up to themselves and taking responsibility, but reflecting on their own behavior, their own thoughts, their own feelings. And so you said earlier, I think about how I've gaslighted my wife. Well, just stopping and doing that reflective exercise is often something that people who are engaging in gaslighting behavior that's of a stronger nature, of an abusive behavior, they struggle intrinsically to do. They don't reflect. And there's a lot of reasons for why that occurs. Sometimes it's because people have serious trauma histories, and so their reflective capacity is limited. They haven't had close relationships where they've developed that capacity or that skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, example, we love our family, of course, right? And a lot of times people who stay in those relationships, they love their husband or their wife, whoever's gaslighting them, and they'll say something like this, well, they're not like that all the time. But what's interesting is they're like that in public, but maybe they're not like that at home.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the signs, can be one of the signs or symptoms to look for. Like when someone's trying to look for, we could call them red flags or signs, constantly defending the abusive person's behavior or making rationalizations or excuses for it. So that's often a common one. When I see clients come into the therapy office and engage in counseling around it, that's often a common rationalization or a common comment I hear is like, well, it was even hard to notice because it doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
Or they weren't like that all the time. There was moments when they were very loving or affectionate, or it felt different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's, there's truth to that somewhat for people, right? Like oftentimes abusive behavior, even though it's consistent, it's not 100% of the time. And so there is some truth to that reality for people of it can be hard to notice and pick up because it's not 100% of the time.
So is there hope for gaslighters?
Absolutely. Yeah. I tend to start from the assumption of there's hope for everybody.
Right. I do too.
Yeah. I do believe there's hope. Often, that kind of touches into how do people change, and we all come to change for different reasons. Mm-hmm. But it's very common for people to become motivated to change when they're in a place of pain or brokenness.
Right.
And so
and broken people break people, hurt people.
Yeah, and actually brokenness in our culture, we tend to want to avoid pain. We tend to want to avoid being in a broken place. And being in a season where we're going through pain or some brokenness in our own lives and journeys is actually can be helpful, can be healthy. We, in Western culture, we tend to view pain negatively. It's a negative feeling. We don't want to sit in it. We don't want to go there. And of course, we don't want to live there.
Yeah.
But coming to a place of brokenness can be very motivating. It can be very helpful to create change, transformation, healing. And so for people engaging in gaslighting behavior, it's often when there's loss in their life or that other partner starts to put boundaries in, and they start to change the pattern of relating. And so they go, listen, I'm not going to, when you talk to me this way, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to allow that. And so often the people experiencing the abusive behavior, it's when they start to put in boundaries, when they start to make change, it kind of, in an indirect way, kind of causes the gaslighter to have to look at themselves or face themselves in a new way, which can be motivating for change. And so often, I've had that kind of experience in my own practice myself. Sometimes I get people who are engaging in gaslighting or that type of behavior where they're coming in because they don't want to lose their marriage, or they don't want to lose that relationship, or they don't want to lose the relationship with their child. Adolescents or young adults starting to put in boundaries and expecting to relate in a healthier way. And so those people get motivated. I don't want to lose that relationship.
Yeah, totally. Because when people experience separation or divorce, there's a lot to it. People don't even think about the financial ramifications sometimes either, right? So I think people feel like I have to make this work because all these other things need to work. Even if I have to walk in eggshells with my spouse for the next 10, 15 years, they're willing to literally sacrifice themselves for their kids and those other things, right?
Yeah.
I like to think that there's hope as well. But I think, people that are attending this summit, they're here because they want to see transformation in themselves. But not everyone's willing to go on that journey with us. So we have to make that conscious decision. So anyone that's experiencing some level of manipulation, right, or gaslighting, as it were, their spouses might not be ready, but they are. What does that look like?
Great question. And so that's kind of the other side of the coin. Two thoughts I'm having. What does that look like when they're ready? When they're ready to address that dynamic in the relationship, I think it goes back to starting to have boundaries. Mm-hmm. Those can be practical boundaries. Like you said, if they're feeling controlled in a practical way, like around money, the schedule of their life, like that partner who gaslights tends to control what our routine looks like, how money's done, how we do life day to day or week to week with our family. It can be practical boundaries, but often it starts with emotional boundaries. And, oftentimes that's where a lot of my work with those partners happens, is just first even coming to acknowledge this is an unhealthy dynamic, or in more severe cases, this is an abusive dynamic. And that can be part of the first step of, I'm ready to have change or transformation, and then working with those people of having boundaries. And so people might be wondering, well, what's an emotional boundary? And it's very common for people who are experiencing gaslighting consistently to feel isolated from friends and family, but then emotionally inside doubt themselves and go to a place where they feel worthless or depressed. Those are all, again, signs too of being gaslighting, that especially doubting themselves, feeling worthless, there's something wrong with me, because they're questioning themselves, right? They're doubting themselves.
They actually judge. They question their own judgment.
Yeah. And so then recognizing what behavior is going on between me and my partner or that other person that is shaping that feeling, and then being able to step in those moments, being able to step in those interactions and have a voice and go, wait a minute, the way you just said that doesn't sit well with me. Or wait a minute, I'm not going to talk to you when you're talking to me that way. That doesn't sit right. That doesn't feel right for me.
Right. And
being able to start to put in small emotional boundaries to change the dynamic, the way that we're relating. Yeah. You know, a big part of that transformation is the process of how we're relating. And that's the whole purpose of boundaries. Remember, boundaries, I'm going to take a minute here and define my definition of boundaries. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. You know, boundaries are about protecting my goals, my priorities, and my heart. And actually, boundaries are amazing because they cause people to relate to us on a higher level. And so when we have goals for ourselves, when we have, you know, a lot of people want to go through a transformation journey, whether that's our physical health, our body, our well-being, boundaries help us protect those goals. They help us protect our priorities. So you even think about people who are working out. What do? They often put boundaries in about their time. They go, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and work out every day, right? They create these goals. Well, what is that? That's a boundary. You know, I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. so I can get up at 6 a.m. and work out every day. And they prioritize that. That's a priority in that transformation journey. And we build in boundaries around our schedules to make sure we're prioritizing what we're prioritizing. And so boundaries protect our heart, our goals, our priorities. And we don't want to just give our heart to anybody. Like, you know, often we give our hearts to people that we're in closest relationships to. And so healthy relationships have boundaries. That's one of the signs and criteria. And so again, boundaries, taking those steps to have emotional boundaries, practical boundaries. You know, if we have friends or neighbors or colleagues who are engaging in this type of behavior, having boundaries where, okay, I'm not going to spend my free time around you, or I'm going to distance myself and limit how much contact I have with that person. You know, maybe it's an extended family member.
Right.
And being intentional to go, you know, it's sad. It's sad that it comes to kind of that place that you have to put in that boundary. And often when people put in those boundaries, I encourage them to process the emotional impact on themselves of having to do that.
Yeah.
But again, taking those steps. The second thing I wanted to touch on is part of what is the step of this transformation journey. I want to come right back to the beginning of our conversation. You mentioned you and your wife, and you know, we're talking about one side of the coin, this gaslighting behavior in close relationships. You know, the other side of the coin, one of the healthy things we should be looking for that's there, or we should be trying to get to in our close relationships, is what's called emotional engagement. And you know, Daryl, you mentioned 3 things that happen in every intimate or romantic relationship. I want to add a 4th, and what we know from studies is it's actually the most important factor in intimate, close relationships is emotional engagement. How do we as partners talk on a vulnerable level and talk about our vulnerable feelings and be engaged on that level? Right. And what we know today from studies, couple studies, studies of marriages, the number one factor that leads to marital satisfaction and the highest outcomes in intimate relationships is emotional engagement happening. And so if we go right back to your example in the beginning with your wife and you losing all this weight, and now all of a sudden people in the world are relating differently to you. They're complimenting you. They're engaging you and talking about you in a different way. Emotional engagement looks like, are me and my wife processing that? Like me turning to my wife and going, you know, people are giving me compliments and praising me and making comments about my body. How are you feeling about this? How are you taking that? Yeah. And so that's, you know, as people are going through these transformation journeys, often around weight loss, body image, the changes, and when they're reaching their goals, a big thing that can be helpful for married couples or couples in that journey is processing things in a more vulnerable way, that journey with their partners. How is the partner taking it? Right. How are they feeling about the changes? Because, you know, I think you would notice when you went through your weight loss journey, that's not just a change in your body image and the weight loss. It's a change in lifestyle. It's a change in routine.
Yeah.
And your partners are on that journey. They're along for the ride. And so then there's all kinds of important conversations that need to have of how are they feeling about the lifestyle change?
Yeah.
Are they even on the lifestyle change with you? Like, I think that's part of what leads to divorce for a lot of couples when there's body transformation is they go through a lifestyle change. They go through a change in thinking and being.
Yeah.
But is my partner on board with that? Are we in the journey together? And are we having the conversations around that?
I love that, because I think it's important to have that conversation before you lose all your weight.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I, when we heard that statistic, I was still probably 390 pounds or something like that. We talked about that, we talked about how we had seen other couples in the past that didn't make it because of that. And so I think maybe we're going to be, we're 40 years this July. That's how long we'll be married. And
Wow.
So, we're a statistic, I guess, in that respect. So we're a pretty solid couple. But talking about that right from when I was big and through that whole journey was great that we did that, rather than wait until I manifested now at 200. And then I've got all this stuff that's happening and I've never shared, never talked about it. She has no idea what's going on in here. And it just could blow up.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
Right there. What you said, she doesn't know what's going on in here. How do we have more vulnerable conversation?
Yeah.
And in general, that's a lot of my work with couples. Some couples they struggle to get to that place of more vulnerable conversation. Like, how do we, even in our weight loss journey, how do we talk about our fears, our desires, what we're hoping to get out of this? And for partners too, that can bring up fears, that can bring up these feelings of like, well, how is this going to change our relationship? How is this going to change things between us?
Yeah.
And it's so important for partners to sit down and talk about how do we hold on to ourselves through this journey, right? Like, and we don't even think that way sometimes, because weight loss, it's a journey of success. And sometimes we think about, when we go through failures, how do we hold on to each other? We think about the partners or the couple that they own a business and they go through bankruptcy.
Right. How
do we hold on to our marriage through the stress and the failure of that? But oftentimes we need to have those more intimate, vulnerable conversations as we get more successful, like managing success. And so, for many people going through weight loss journey, it feels good. It feels positive. It feels like a success.
Yeah.
I'm getting to a place that I'm relating to myself physically, mentally, in a healthier, more positive way. That's how most people experience themselves as I go through that journey. And so how, as a couple, to sit down and literally have a conversation of how do we maintain closeness, or how do we hold on to each other? Or for some couples, it's the first time they talk about, are we close? Like, do we actually have good connection?
Yeah.
And those are, I'll tell you, Daryl, they're really hard conversations to start if you've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we just assume that we just all know how to have those conversations and start those conversations. And
right.
And it can be hard. Like, I would want people to know, if they're listening to this and feeling, well, like, I don't know how to have those conversations with my spouse. I don't even think we've ever had them. To turn towards them and start those conversations is a really big step. It's, I would say you're being really courageous by even thinking about it, and then trying to like sit down and go, hey, can we talk for 5 minutes about my journey or us?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great first step, and people are being courageous and brave to do it.
Yeah. And it's not just about weight loss. Transformation, what we're talking about, and couples whose marriages, whether they're married or whether they're living together, doesn't matter. There's other things that factor into it as well. Because, like example, self-help. One spouse is just really focused on, diving into all John Maxwell stuff and, all these great people out there, and all of a sudden they're having this change of mindset, but their spouse isn't even interested in that journey. So things are happening. They don't see it either.
Yeah.
And
it's like, it's so key that we let our spouses in on that journey.
Right.
I love what you just said, because this actually came up for me this morning.
Okay.
Even as I was getting ready this morning, me and my wife, during the pandemic, I keep hearing a lot of talk of like, it being a season of rest, or kind of everything slowed down, especially in 2020. And people talking about, it's a time to rejuvenate or rest, and that being a season. And that actually didn't resonate with me. The past 2 years have kind of been, for me personally, a season of delay. Actually, we started, our counseling practice bought a new office in a new building.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, building a new office in a new building has been quite the journey. Designing it, getting the construction, everything that goes into that. But it's been such a season of delay with that process. And so many areas of my life just kind of feeling like we're in delay, or we're just kind of treading water. And I recently have been reading a book, and it kind of talked about that. And I wasn't thinking, I'm kind of, this past couple of years, we don't think that way. We don't, and so this book brought it up. Sometimes we can be in seasons of delay, and it really resonated with me. And so I had this conversation with my wife this morning. I kind of did what we're talking about. Was I said to her, hey, as we're talking about our journey in 2022 and goals, because me and my wife do that.
Yeah.
I said, I've been reading a chapter in a book that's really resonated with me. And as we have more conversations about our future and goals and where we're going as a family, I really would like you to read this chapter first.
Right.
And so this whole conversation, to bring her into what's resonating in my heart and mind, and making sure I do that, because as I express thoughts and how this is impacting me and what it means to me, I want her to have that foundation of what is my process.
Right. Wow.
And that's so important in our closest relationships, that we do that with our partners.
That's awesome.
That's connection, Daryl, isn't it? Like that's just
It
being
is.
connected.
Yeah, it is. But we'll go back to gaslighting for a moment here, because we could talk a lot about so much amazing stuff. There are people out there who would just love to have that type of a relationship, that type of connection, like you have with your wife, like I have with my wife. And I love how you brought up boundaries, because that's a good place to start. Because if you start sharing some of these things to someone that's an extreme gaslighter, you know what's going to happen. They're going to devalue it.
It's going to be turned on you and used against you or dismissed.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, we don't want to encourage couples who are in that dynamic, that severe kind of dynamic, to be more emotionally vulnerable. That's often not the first step.
Right.
Boundaries are the first. Boundaries and starting to have a voice for myself are the first step. And I just want to encourage people. Sometimes people need help with that. I don't want people to be sitting at home and go, oh, great, I'm alone to do that.
Yeah.
Some people do need help with that, whether that be a life coach or a counselor, or even friends and family, to have those conversations. Whoever you turn to for support and lean into for support, being able to start processing, how do I have boundaries? How do I have a voice? How do I take my first step around maybe this one type of behavior that's happening in our relationship?
Right. That's good. You start by transformation in yourself first, create those boundaries, and then eventually people start to see it, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make sense trying to change your spouse. It's probably never going to happen, right?
No, you can't change them. But like you said, actually, this whole conversation of boundaries is actually less about my partner and more about how I relate to myself.
Right. Very good.
You nailed it there, Daryl.
Yeah.
That's totally what it is. It's how do I relate to myself? How do I allow myself to be treated and related to?
Yeah.
We could frame this even in the framework of boundaries are also about loving myself well.
Right. Wow, this is a whole journey in itself.
Completely, absolutely. Like aren't we all on that journey?
We are.
Of learning how to love ourselves well, love well in our closest relationships.
Yeah. Now, I do have kind of a last question before we go, because I know we could talk about this on and on and on. This is a tough question. When do you know it's time to say enough's enough? I need to walk away from this relationship.
Good question.
I don't expect you to answer that, but I'd like you to speak into it.
No, and I think that goes back to some of the signs or symptoms. Like if there's more of a, obviously we don't want to encourage anybody to stay in an abusive relationship without addressing that abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And again, let's go right back to the beginning. Clinically, gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse.
Right.
Typically emotional abuse. The hard thing for people with emotional abuse is kind of invisible. Like when we talk about physical abuse or domestic violence, it's often there's a bruise. Other people can see it. I can see it. Like it's often a more clear sign of like, okay, more drastic steps and boundaries need to be taken. And sometimes people step in for us. And so emotional abuse sometimes is more difficult to navigate for the partner experiencing that or the partner being injured by that.
Right.
I would say there's some signs that people want to pay attention to. The number one sign that I see in intimate relationships is partners being isolated from friends and family.
Right.
Is your intimate relationship coming between you and your family? Your mom and dad, your siblings, even your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Are you isolated from friends and family? That's a clear sign that something needs to change. That isolation is what often leads to feeling down, depressed, even anxious, right? Again, there's another sign is when you're consistently feeling like you're walking on eggshells around that other person. Our closest relationships, we should feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
Those are the two main foundational pillars of a secure, intimate relationship is, do I have this sense of safety?
Mm-hmm.
And we feel safety in our bodies. We feel it psychologically. We kind of know it mentally as adults. The other thing that I'm looking for is, do I start to lie to friends and family, to avoid having to make excuses for my partner? Yeah. This is kind of a form, to me, this is a form of hiding ourselves. Like when we start to hide ourselves, we start to lie to our friends and family. Now we're starting to not live in reality. Right? Like we're not only, gaslighting is having that person make us question our own reality, but when we cross that line, we're now of a sudden, we're hiding ourselves and we're not living in reality of the facts of life.
Right.
That's again another sign of when I would know, okay, it's time to start to put in drastic boundaries or more serious boundaries, or even start to look at how do I distance myself or take a break from this relationship.
Yeah. I like how you said distance or take a break, because earlier you had mentioned about, if it's like a parent or somebody else that it doesn't live with you, you can choose to distance yourself in terms of, okay, I'm only going to see them once a month, or, rather than every day.
Yeah.
You can choose to do that. But when you're living with somebody 24/7, that's really hard to do, right? So and what does that look like if you're going to do that?
Instituting boundaries too. The whole part of boundaries we haven't talked about is like when you institute boundaries, you also have to have a consequence.
Right.
Like oftentimes those partners, especially when there's more control going on or behavior that's indicative of an excessive need for control from the partner, if you don't have a consequence and you're not ready to follow through on that consequence, they're going to call your bluff.
Right. Yeah.
Like they'll test whether or not there's going to be a consequence to their behavior. A big part of boundaries is I voice a boundary, but then I also have to voice, if this continues, I'm just not going to talk with you, or I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to end the conversation. And you have to be ready and willing to do that.
Right.
That's a big part of establishing boundaries. And so, that's a whole nother part of establishing boundaries in our relationships.
Wow.
And it's a healthy part of doing life, right? We all have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We all don't give our personal time, our internal world to everybody. We don't give it to the person we run across in the grocery store. We don't open up and share our dreams, our desires, our secrets. That's a boundary. And so.
True.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think we're at the end of our time here, Mark. It's been amazing. Now, one thing that I love about, I'm trying to see the silver lining about the pandemic, okay? And so it's not that I love it, but I think what's really cool is people can get help without actually sitting down physically with someone like you in an office, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're locked at home and you feel isolated, you can jump on a Zoom call or whatever your therapist or your counselor is using or coach, and do it in the privacy of your bedroom or wherever, where you're not physically leaving the house and bringing up these red flags to your spouse. What are you doing, right? I think that's a silver lining in the fact that we're doing a lot more of this video conferencing.
Yeah, and I mean, so many aspects of our world have become virtual, right? We're doing our business meetings, we're doing our life coaching. And for us therapists, yes, we're meeting with a lot of clients who they're in physical locations where they're isolated, or they just practically can't make it to the office. And so it provides this beautiful option for people to receive support and reach out.
Right. Yeah. This has been a great conversation, Mark. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, the best way is to jump on our website, pacificcoastcounseling.ca, 2 L's in counseling and .ca. They can Google Pacific Coast Counseling. Our main office, our office is in Langley, but we do provide virtual counseling.
Yeah.
And they can go on our website, check out, there's a description of our services. There's even a team page that gives a bio for myself and the other counselors on my team. And then if people want to get more information, they can call our office. We have a receptionist who'd be happy to speak with them and talk further. And just if people are needing counseling or therapeutic support, our reception would be happy to connect with them and walk them through that process. We actually have a confidential online intake form that they can fill out and complete. And so all the information about how to connect is on our website, pacificcoastcounseling.ca.
And they don't have to be Canadian, right? They can connect with whether they're from the US or from the UK or New Zealand. I mean, other than time zone problems, but it's available to anyone.
Yeah, and I meet with people from different time zones, and we work it out, we figure it out. It's it's again another perk of the virtual counseling.
Awesome, Mark. Hey, I vouch for Mark. Mark is an amazing man, has an amazing family. Connect with him if you can. We will put his website link in the chat area. It'll also be in the All Access Pass area. So until next time, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks, Darryl. This conversation has been great.
Wow, what a conversation about gaslighting in relationships and boundaries and all of these different things that affect all of our relationships. And just some amazing stuff. Mark is an amazing guy, and I dropped his website down there. They are a registered charity, and so they even reach out and help people that can't even afford counseling. Amazing organization. Reach out to them. They can help people from all over the world. It doesn't have to be just in British Columbia or in Canada. It could be in the US, could be anywhere worldwide. That's the nice thing about video conferencing, isn't it? I mean, one thing COVID has done is it's really opened things up in terms of connecting people around the world, just like this Transformation Summit. We've got people that have registered from New Zealand. That's way around the other side of the planet for where I am right now. But so we got a lot of people registered that will be watching this at their leisure because they've got the All Access Pass. Wonderful. I am so excited. Getting some great responses from people about the summit. I'm really I'm happy that it's really being helpful to you all. So this next guest is Justin Menzies, and we've known each other for a lot of years. And I remember him before he got married. And anyway, him and his wife are good friends. And so I've asked him to come on the program. Now, he's lost like 70 pounds. And he did it all naturally. And so we were talking about his journey in that, and he came up with the title called Purpose and Intention. Oh, but I don't have time to change. Who does, right? Who does have time to change? And so I wanted to have him on and share his story and talk about this subject of purpose and intention. So we are going to roll this next session with Justin Menzies. Hey everyone, I am so honored and privileged that Justin Menzies has joined us today. Now, Justin and his wife were family friends for many, many years. And around the same time I started my weight loss journey, I believe Justin did as well, and he lost 70 pounds. Now, Justin came from a place of brokenness, raised by broken parents, who between them had 8 marriages. His biological father died a homeless man addicted to drugs. And Justin learned at an early age that broken people break people, and hurting people hurt people. Justin had the revelation that restored people, and empowered people, empowered people. Did you get that, folks? I'll say that again, because this is really awesome. Restored people, restore people, and empowered people, empower people. Now, welcome, Justin. I'm so happy that you're with us.
Yes, good to be here.
And I love Justin's passion to see people set free. And I've seen living proof of people all around the world that Justin's input in their lives has made a difference. And I'm even speaking for myself. So today, Justin's going to talk about purpose and intention. Very, very powerful. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is for purpose and intention. Let me just say it this way. Good intentions don't bring about change. So you have to be intentional about making a plan of how am I going to go forward. Mm-hmm. But most often people are stuck. And to be unstuck is, well, where am I stuck?
Yeah.
Well, every person, if you feel stuck, you're going to be stuck either in your head, your heart, or your hands.
Right.
And if you're stuck in your head, it's just maybe you have wrong knowledge or bad knowledge. And so therefore, the knowledge that you have gained is keeping you stuck. A lot of times, the biggest area is people feel stuck emotionally because of experiences that have happened to them in their past. They feel like they cannot overcome because their past is still determining what their present and future is going to be.
Right.
So they feel stuck emotionally based on those experiences, or they feel stuck in their hands. And this means simply that they feel stuck with, I don't have the skills, I don't have the application, or I don't have the processes. So often to have purpose and intention, say, okay, what knowledge do I need? What experiences do I need? And what skills or actions do I need to overcome this?
Right.
And so when we talk about purpose, purpose is simply the motivating factor.
Right.
So whatever your purpose is, you have to have a good motivating factor. In other words, to bring change, you can't do it for anybody else except yourself.
Right.
You have to be able to say, I'm motivated to change my health or my education or my experiences because I want to experience transformation. You can't do it for a spouse. You can't do it for a friend. You have to do it for yourself. And so when we talk about purpose and intention, it's like I have to be intentional about changing some internal things before I see the external change.
Right.
Because if you just change the external change, you're just modifying your behavior, and that will only last 2 to 4 weeks. And then you'll just acquiesce right back to the same rhythms and patterns you've been in.
Right.
So it's really saying, what's my motive and what is my intention to change the way I think, the way I feel, and the way I act.
Right.
And really that's the area we're focusing on, because transformation, as I already just said, is more internal than it is external.
Yeah.
If you can change the internal parts, the way you think, it then begins to change the way you perceive things. And perception is your reality, even if it's deception. So whatever you perceive becomes your reality, even if it's deception.
Yeah.
And that's why so many people operate with blind spots, or our self-awareness is not there. It's because our perception actually becomes our reality, even if it's deception.
Yeah, we get stuck believing our own lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those lies, for many of us, become such a reality to us that no matter what someone tells us, it's our reality.
Exactly.
And so we don't like it when that gets challenged, right?
Totally. And let me give you an example of, and this is a real example that so many people go through. And I'll use two of them because these are the two people feel like. But somebody comes up to you and says, "You're stupid." And automatically you hear that and you go, "Wow, that person said I was stupid." Then you do something and you felt stupid doing it. And then all of a sudden you said, "I heard that. I now felt stupid. Therefore, I am stupid."
Right.
And so therefore you then, doesn't matter what happens, you could have, graduate from high school or even university with A roll, an AB honor roll, but still there's this, in the back of your mind, this digital plane happening. It's like, I'm stupid, I feel stupid, I am stupid. And that also goes to the area of failure. I'm a failure. Somebody told me I'm a failure. I did something, I failed, therefore I feel like a failure now. And look at what I did. There's action steps, or there's action right there that I did fail. So therefore I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And what happens if you don't change that, every time you're about to move into something where you're going to succeed, you will probably, without even realizing it, self-sabotage yourself, because you say, I can't succeed. I cannot be successful.
Yeah.
I'm a failure. I'm stupid. And that, it really plays against your transformational piece that has to happen in the way I think, the way I feel, and the way I act.
Yeah. And so many of us, this goes back to our childhood. I remember teachers telling me, "You're not going to amount to anything."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was even told, "Oh, you'll get into heaven by the skin of your teeth."
Well,
right?
And here's something, Daryl, that happened to me, as you introduced, growing up with broken parents and, broken brothers and sisters. I was told that as a little boy that I was unlovable and that I was not wanted. So all of a sudden you say, I'm not lovable and I'm not valuable.
Right.
And all of a sudden what happens is everything you do, it doesn't matter how successful you can be. Growing up, I was on the AB honor roll. I was a first degree black belt. I was the captain of the wrestling team. But still in the back of my mind is, I'm not valuable. I'm not lovable. Because those imprints that we receive, and they say that you actually receive those imprints by the time you're born to 5. And
right.
Those are imprints. Mm-hmm. And if you actually don't intentionally and purposefully change that print, you can be 65, 70 and still be imprinted from those experiences when you were 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So to change those imprints is you actually have to have new thoughts. And the most important is new experiences.
Right.
I have experienced that I am lovable. I experienced that I am valuable. But it has to be not something you just tell yourself. It has to be experiential.
Right.
Because experiential pieces actually bring a new imprint on you. Mm-hmm. And so even in the journey of transformation, even with weight loss, it's like I'm fat, I'll always be fat. I'm fat. So what you're doing is you're labeling my identity. I'm stupid, I will always be stupid. I'm unlovable, I'll always be unlovable. And people could even love you and all those things, but you won't receive it because
right.
you've already identified yourself to that.
Right.
And what's beautiful, in one of the areas of weight loss is if you do lose the weight, you can look in the mirror and go, you have lost weight. Like
that's true.
You
visual.
actually don't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't have to feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
But there are people and that may be watching that you might even lose the weight, but you still see a fat person in the mirror.
Oh, absolutely. People who have extreme weight loss or quick weight loss, a lot of times they have what's called fat brain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? It's really no different than someone who's bulimic looks in the mirror and they see themselves fat.
Absolutely.
It's in here. It's not
Absolutely.
a physical representation at all, right?
And that's a good point because that also goes with the same other aspects of being healthy in the sense of internally, the way that you think, the way that you feel, and the way that you act. So right now you're wearing glasses. And so if I was to paint your glasses blue, right. I mean, you could still see through it, but there were blue lenses. Mm-hmm. Everything you see is blue. And even if I show you something yellow, you'll say, well, look, it's green. And I'm like, well, no, it's actually not. And I can tell you this is the color it is, but all you will see is everything you see will have that blue lens.
Wow, great analogy.
So I'm actually showing you something very, like, has a beautiful color, but you say it's blue. And if I say to you, Daryl, it's not blue, you're looking, you're going, don't call me a liar. I know it's blue. I'm looking right at it.
Yeah.
And to you, you're not lying, but that is your perspective because all you see is blue.
Yeah.
And so until that lens changes, that will be your perspective, and that will be the lens that you see everything in life. So that's what I'm talking about, perspective.
We all need some new glasses.
Absolutely. And that's what transformation really is.
Yeah.
And new glasses is I'm going to think differently.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel differently, and I'm going to act differently. But you actually have to replace your glasses.
Yeah.
You actually have to say, I'm not going to, wear blue lens glasses. I'm going to actually get clear glasses so I can see with clarity what's happening.
Yeah. Man, so good. Oh my goodness. Now, really, it all starts in here.
Yeah.
Right? Because transformation takes time. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to see it right away. As a matter of fact, when you start the transformation journey in here, your friends and family aren't going to see it right away. You might not even notice it in yourself, but through consistency, it will happen. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I think the challenge with that is, and here's the challenge of sometimes when your loved ones, your family around you, they often, they see you who you've been and who you are.
Yeah.
And this is why really what we're doing right now is so important, because coaches, good coaches, don't see you as you were or even how you are, but they see you as you're going to be.
Yeah.
And so the analogy of that is simply, if you see a slave, you treat people like a slave. If you see a king or a queen, you treat them like a king or a queen. And so if you see somebody that's, well, this is what your past has been, and this is what your present is, so therefore this is what your future is going to look like.
Yeah.
Well, you can be held, you can actually become held to your past.
Yeah.
Without being able to move forward, unless you have somebody that says, I see the potential in you, and I see what you can be. Yeah. I see what you are able to be, and they pull that out of you. That's why people get stuck. They're stuck because of how they've seen themselves in the past, and they say, well, that's how I've always been. This is who I am right now. And often, not always, family sees you in the same way. They see you how you've been.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful about coaches and people that help you, they see you as you're going to be.
Yeah.
So
awesome. It's not just another diet or just another program, right?
No. And that's the thing, and there again, we could get into principles. Their principles are so important with like transformation, but how you apply those principles may be different for everybody.
Right.
In other words, everybody wears shoes, but we don't all wear the same size,
right?
And they're not the same style.
Yeah.
But we all wear shoes. So there are principles in transformation that are very valuable. and they include nutrition. They include exercise.
Yeah.
They include sleeping. But this other piece is I have to think differently so that I can experience differently.
Yeah.
And so those are principles, and principles work universally.
Yeah.
Gravity works in China just like it works here.
Yeah.
So you jump off a building, and whether you say, well, I don't believe in gravity, I don't believe in this principle of gravity. Well, you have about 5 seconds before you hit the ground, and then you're going to get a revelation that gravity still works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these principles work, but the problem is, at some cases, is how those principles are applied to one person may need to be applied differently to another person, which is just then method. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's still the same principles.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
So I tell people, find your tribe, find a group of support people, find a coach that you resonate with, because, I might not be the best coach for everyone. I know that already.
Yeah.
And that's why I've got so many amazing people on this program, because you might align with one of the other speakers really well. Yeah. And that's that missing piece of the puzzle that you need.
Yes.
Now, one thing I want to ask, Justin, there's a lot of people who want to make this big, massive change in their life, but they don't trust anyone. Mm-hmm. They're truly stuck, mm-hmm. right? I mean, they could be surrounded by people, but they're super lonely.
Yeah.
But they could be lovable, but they don't put themselves out there to be loved.
That's exactly right.
What do you say to those people? How do you motivate them to make this step?
It's really hard. That's a really good point, because, if you wear a mask in front of people, mm-hmm. and they learn to love the mask you wear, but when you go home and take the mask off, you don't feel loved, because they didn't really love you. They loved the mask you were wearing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you said all these people loved me, but they loved what I presented, but not who I am. Mm-hmm. And so the fear of taking the mask off, and this is everybody, if I take that mask off and they really knew who I was, they would reject me. And so the biggest fear is rejection.
Right.
And that's what keeps people isolated and alone, because they feel I don't want to be rejected. Mm-hmm. And this is a hard one. And so the only thing one can do, it's the old analogy, if you want a friend, you have to first be a friend.
Yeah.
So the biggest giant leap one has to take in that is to take off that mask. And that's the scariest, because now you feel vulnerable. But the second step is go out and accept somebody. Yeah. Instead of waiting to go be rejected, begin to say, you know what? I'm not going to wait to be rejected. I'm going to step out with all the courage I can muster up, and I'm going to go out and accept someone, and I'm going to accept their friendship, or I'm going to accept them and say, you know what? I'm going on a journey, but if you would take that step and say, I'm not going to wait to be rejected, I'm going to step out and accept someone.
Right.
That hurdle right there is huge. But I'm telling you, there are so many people that are waiting to accept you back, but you don't realize that. So you stand in front of them, waiting for them to accept you, not realizing that if you just accept them, you would build that bridge and build a connection, and you could actually help each other.
Yeah.
And so, but that is, I understand, a huge hurdle, but it's a step one has to take to make that change.
Absolutely. Because we've all got something to give. Absolutely. It's not all about just receiving all the time.
Absolutely.
Yes, hurt people.
Yeah.
Right. But when you put yourself out there, and hey, it's putting your feelings out there sometimes, and it's being realistic, it's being genuine. Yeah. But there's people that are just on the other side of a blessing that you can give them. And it might be an experience. It might be something that you consider to be small, but for them, it's huge.
Right? One of the things to build on that, and this is something that I have learned, and that is when you encourage somebody, you're giving them courage.
Right.
When you discourage somebody, you're actually taking courage from them.
Right.
So if you want to step out and step into accepting somebody, that step looks like practically go out and encourage them. Give them courage.
Right.
And be careful of the people that you surround yourself that are always discouraging you. But if they do, just know people treat people the way they see themselves. So if they're discouraging you, it's because they feel discouraged.
Right.
So make sure you see it correctly and don't take that personally.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of that journey of stepping into thinking differently.
Yes.
People are mature in 3 areas. People say, well, how do you measure maturity? You measure it by people's attitude and their actions and reactions to circumstances and by the choices they make. So we have to stop playing the blame game. Well, this happened to me. And I get it. I grew up in a broken home, broken family. But there had to come a time where I had to learn to be a good son to bad fathers.
Wow.
There had to come a time where I had to be a good person to bad people.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to let them determine my future. And so,
Wow.
But that's a choice.
Yeah.
It's not a feeling, because your feelings is, I want to slap them in the head.
Yeah.
They did me wrong. And I want them to feel what they did to me internally. So it's a choice. You did me wrong, but I'm going to do you good.
And the first time that you reach out to try and execute this intention,
Yeah.
the result you get back might not be what you expect. And
Absolutely.
so you could just say, well, forget it. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Absolutely. And that comes to motivation.
Yeah.
I remember when I first began, doing even ministry, and I'm a pastor and I get to travel. But as a young man, because I was so broken and so wounded, I thought, I'm going to start being nicer to people. So I remember opening the doors for people as they go into restaurants and go into places. And I would open the door and I'd say, come on in. And some people would look at me like, I didn't ask for your help. And they'd walk through and I'd be like, can't believe you. I opened the door for you and you can't even say thank you. And I remember doing that a few times. And I kind of had this whispering thought of, what's your motive for doing that? Are you looking for compliments? Are you looking to get your ego stroked? And I had to realize, hey, are you actually trying to be nice to people because you're looking for a reward? Or you just want to be nice because you want to do good?
Yeah.
And so it caused me to say, what are my intentions? What are my intentions of why I'm doing this?
Right.
And we have to realize growth is, I'm willing to encourage you, even if you don't encourage me.
Yeah. That's it.
But I'm encouraged that I get to encourage you.
Yeah. There you go.
and look at it. It's not about, and this, that old saying, I choose not to be a victim. I choose to be victorious.
Yeah.
I choose to be a blessing and not a curse.
Yeah.
I choose to empower people instead of actually taking power from them.
Right.
And really it's really a control issue, a feeling of being out of control and wanting to be in control. And that is all internal.
Right.
So really giving up that control is saying, I actually am going to trust that I'm going to get the right people in the right place in my life. And then I'm going to move forward and not try to walk in perfection, but just walk in taking the small steps I need to take to move forward.
Yeah.
Part of my transformational journey, this is more for the local area, but others will be able to understand it. But one of my goals is to hike up Mount Tom, a local place here. And the first time I did it, as I began my weight loss journey, it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get up this hill. And I had to stop probably every 10 minutes and feel like my heart was going to come out of my chest and I was going to throw up. But I was determined to get to the top. And I thought, hey, I've started this weight loss journey. How come I'm not, up on the top of the mountain? I mean, come on, I've started this transformation. How come I can't do this yet? Well, you know what? It took time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, hey, I'm just going to do a little bit better today. Hey, I'm just going to do a little bit better today. Hey, I'm just going to do a little bit better today.
Yeah.
And But that goal of like, what could I get that down to once I am fully in my transformation? Well, when I had lost my full 70 pounds, my best time going up was 27 minutes.
Wow.
So from an hour and 45 minutes to 27 minutes
Amazing.
is a huge thing. Now, I'll be honest, I've lost 70 pounds. I've gained back probably about 15 pounds. And I think everything for me, I have to say, okay, here's my ceiling. Once I get here, I need to readjust and make sure. And so, you know, I'm back doing Mount Tom. Am I at 27 minutes right now? No, I'm doing it right now, and it's taking me 35 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not at an hour and 45 minutes. So
hey, we're keeping it real, right? I mean, this is real life because it's a journey for the rest of our life, not
that's
just.
Right. And so I think that we have to understand that this is something that is a daily choices.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing to live in this transformation. And my biggest thing has always been when I started this journey is no more excuses.
Right.
No more excuses. And it's funny because I travel a lot pre-COVID, but I'm starting to travel again. In these last few months, I've been traveling again, doing what I do, and everybody wants me to take me to the best restaurants. And they want me to taste these things. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been doing so good for the last 3 years. You know, sure, I can, you know, have a cheat day and then another cheat day. And then pretty soon I'm like, I think I had a cheat week there with all the traveling.
Yeah,
so
true.
Even just a couple weeks ago, I said, that's it. No more excuses. Because I'd say, well, I'm traveling again. It's so hard when you travel. I'm like, hey, that's the same excuse I used before. And that's where I gained all my weight.
Yeah.
So no more excuses. This is about my health. It's continuing my transformation. So I need to get back on that track and step into that.
Yeah.
And there again, that's my conviction. It can't be somebody else's conviction.
Yeah.
It has to be my conviction.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what? We're running out of time here, but this has been absolutely amazing. You know, folks, we need to be intentional.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's important. That's what happened to me. When my why and my purpose met my values, bang.
Yes.
I met my superpower, and that was it.
Yes.
And I have been intentional ever since then. And guess what? I will continue to be intentional for the rest of our life, because when it comes to losing weight, we're in this battle till the day we die.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not just about weight loss. It's about so much more, right?
Yeah.
It's about our general health, but it's about doing our work up here.
Yeah.
We can get this straight. Everything else is going to line up.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, Justin, thank you so much for your time. Now, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so one of the best ways, go to my website, which is latitudeministries.com. That's a great way. If you're interested in, resources, I'm going to throw some couple tools that I have, and I'll put them up on your page, Daryl.
Okay.
You can download. I have what I call the 5 rules of execution. And why that tool is important is a lot of people have strategies.
Right.
And we're taught how to put together strategies. But without an execution plan, strategy is just information on a piece of paper.
Right.
And paper weight loss is so easy to do.
Yeah, true.
You can write it on a piece of paper, and it's like, here's my paper weight loss journey on paper. Yeah, that's great. But what choices are you going to make, and what execution are you going to actually put into action?
So good.
So without an execution plan, then it's just paper weight loss.
Yeah.
And the second tool that I'll make available is what I call the GROW tool. And the GROW tool is simply, the G stands for what is your goal, and the R stands for what is your reality right now. What is your reality? Let's not somebody else's reality. What is your reality?
Yeah.
And then the O stands for what are your options and obstacles. And the W stands for what are you willing to do and what are you willing not to do.
Right.
And so these two tools can work simultaneously together, and you can use them to actually say, hey, here are my goals, but here is my execution of these goals to move forward. That caused me to think differently, to have new experiences, but action steps that will give me skills to be able to do that.
Yes, that's amazing. So everyone that's watching this, we're going to drop a link in the chat, and you can download those things. Be intentional. Do it. Download them. And just don't download them and say, oh, they're on my computer.
That's right.
No, do it, right?
Yeah.
Do it. Now,
Absolutely.
someone that's attending the summit is going to get a free gift from Justin.
Yes.
So what will that be, Justin?
You know, for me, I write a lot of devotional books. So the things that I have is I have a couple devotional books. And one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is if you want to be a healthy person internally, then it's not what we construct around us. A lot of times we do need some scaffolding around us.
Right.
But if we don't develop some internal pillars, and my biggest thing is hope. And my definition of hope is something to look forward to. Wow. And so I have a devotional book that I've done that is around what I call the 5 pillars of spiritual transformation. And that is, I'm going to read something and so I can change the way I think, but I'm going to actually journal about it. There's something powerful when you begin to journal, just even thoughts. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I'm not a journaler. Well, you can write down some thoughts.
Right.
And other things that are part of that is, hey, I'm going to pray about this. I'm going to pray about this information. And we call it marinating. You take a piece of meat and you marinate it in something and they become one. Well, when you begin to meditate and murmur, the word meditate means to murmur, you meditate on that. Then you say the last step is, I'm going to actually apply this. So I'll give away one of those books that I've written called The Pillar of Hope. And it's something that I really strongly believe that will help people who want to experience transformation internally as they move forward.
Awesome. And of course, they can order this book on your website, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway,
on my website as well.
Hey, Justin, thank you so much for spending time with us. And I know that you will have enjoyed this as much as I have. I've learned a lot. And let's be intentional, folks. So have a wonderful day. Hey, everyone. Wasn't that amazing? Wow. Talk about some tidbits of gold. Now, hold on 1 second here. I got a light that's out. I'll be right back. This is what happens when you're live. Look a little better now, right? Anyways, you can download Justin's 5 Rules of Execution when you go to the download page, which is available to everyone that's registered. If you haven't registered, you can register for absolutely free. I'll put in the link right now, and it will take you to the page. Before I put that link in, though, there's someone that just won Justin's devotional book, and that would be Lorianne Mark. Awesome, Lorianne. You are the winner of Justin's devotional book, and I will connect you and Justin so that he can make arrangements so that you can get it. Awesome, awesome. Again, here is the link. If you haven't registered already, just register for free, and it'll take you immediately to the download page, and you'll see all the different resources of the different speakers, and of course their contact information, how you can get to their websites, their Facebooks or Instagrams, whatever they have. You can get to that. Hey, we are at the end of the Transformation Summit day. This was going to be the last day. However, we have 3 more speakers that we will be featuring tomorrow. And that will be, let me see here, John and Chelsea Jubilee. We're going to be talking about hydration in the mind. And Sue Moore, where we're going to be talking about the benefits of having a coach. Looking forward to that. And of course, at the end of that day, it's only going to be 2.5 hours tomorrow. Okay, the bonus session isn't that long. I'll be talking about the 3 myths that stopped me from realizing my transformation. and I'll sum up the rest of the summit. Yes, did I say that? Sum up the summit? That was good. That will be tomorrow. So bonus day tomorrow morning, starting at exact same time, only 2.5 hours. But we're at the end of day 3, and our next guest is Antoinette Tuff, and she is a CNN hero. I connected with her on LinkedIn and have been chatting back and forth, and wow, what a testimony. I put out an email this morning about someone who tried to commit suicide 2 times and ended up saving over 1,000 people from being shot in a school shooting. Anyways, that's Antoinette. She is coming up next. And then after her session, we will be going live on LinkedIn with our All Access members. And it'll be a question and answer period with myself, and some of our speakers will be logging in as well. Hey, I'm not sure who's all going to show up, but whoever's there, we're going to welcome them. We're going to have a great time, and we will record it as well so we can put that in the All Access Center later. So it's going to be exciting. So let's get on here for the last one. Let's see, what time is it? 11:05. You know what? We were going to start this one at 11:05. Man, my first summit, and I'm just like keeping right on time within the minute. Awesome. Anyways, we're going to load up Antoinette Tuff. Amazing session. Here she goes. Hey everyone, I am so excited that Antoinette Tuff is joining us today. Now, never did she ever imagine that she would be an accidental hostage negotiator, where she would use her life challenges, experiences to successfully convince an armed gunman to give up his AK-47. And in doing so, she became a hero, saving more than 1,000 lives at the Ronald E. McNair Discovery Learning Academy. Since then, she's become a best-selling author, a recognized speaker, a high-performance corporate coach, leader in diversity, inclusion, psychological safety for women, schools and districts, universities, and anyone who wants cultural diversity and equality. Wow, Antoinette. But that's not all, right? Because she also founded and is the CEO of a nonprofit organization called Kids on the Move for Success, and she was a guest of Michelle Obama at the State of the Union address. Absolutely amazing, Antoinette. Now, Antoinette has something on her website that really inspired me, so I'm going to quote her. She said, "The greatest part of us is our power to live with purpose. But you can only live on purpose if you exercise that power." Welcome to the program, Antoinette. I'm so excited that you're with us.
Awesome. It's great to be here with you today and your audience.
Yes. We can't wait to hear from you. What an inspiring story that you went through all of that. My goodness. I mean, talk about take someone by surprise, right?
Oh, most definitely.
But look where you are now, right?
Yeah.
You're helping so many other people in different areas of their life, and which is one of the reasons why we connected and why I wanted you on the Transformation Summit, because you have a topic that's called Prepared for a Purpose. And I think our viewers and myself, I want to hear more about that, because purpose to me was extremely important in my journey, because my purpose and my why, when they met my values, I discovered my superpower. And I think there's a lot of people out there that still haven't really discovered their purpose. And so, Antoinette, tell us more about that.
Well, I started the Living on Purpose program was because I realized doing all of that, everybody thought that for me, it was when the gunman held me hostage with an AK-47. But really, it really started a year before that, when my marriage, after 33 years, the man that I had been with since I was 13 years old, finding myself at 46, now looking at being single by myself. You know, I had never been in a house by myself. I had never slept in a bed by myself. I was 13. And so it was like, how do I now get into this new me? I didn't know who I was. all of my life and everything that I had revolved around my husband and my kids. And so now my kids were grown, and my son was 21 in school. My daughter was 26 in law school. And so it was like, what am I going to do? It's like, I am clueless. And so I found myself, really having to learn who I was, and it was like, okay, how do you talk about a transformation?
Right.
And trying to figure out your purpose. So when that happened, I found myself really unstable mentally.
Okay.
I tried to commit suicide several times. 2 days before the gunman held me hostage, I went to one of the busiest streets here in Atlanta, and I walked out in front of a car, and the car didn't hit me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get this right. So I waited. I went back over the side of the street. I waited there for a few minutes, and I seen this big tractor trailer truck coming. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this truck is going to hit me. I'm going to walk out there because I knew that a truck needed, football field. I always heard people say to be able to stop. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk out here in front of this truck, and he's going to hit me, right? But then he kind of went around me, and I'm like, wait a minute. I still can't even, commit suicide. I'm trying to do this thing. And so by that time, I went back, just weeping and crying. I called my ex-husband, and I was like, I just want to die. I don't know how to live without you. But I didn't know, Daryl, that the only reason why I couldn't commit suicide was because 2 days later, God was going to have me to get up, still overwhelmed, because even though I tried to commit suicide, it wasn't like he was coming home, because he was already in another relationship, living with the woman and all that. So even though he heard me talking about committing suicide, I'm telling him what I'm doing. It wasn't my first time trying to commit suicide, but I can thank God today that it was my last.
Yeah.
But that still didn't get him home, right? But I didn't understand, why could I not do it? But the reason why was because 2 days later, I was going to go to school crying, overwhelmed, trying to figure out how I was going to pay the bill. Didn't have money to put food on the table. Didn't know what I was going to do and all of that. I found myself overwhelmed still, trying to figure it out. I get to work, and so I'm sitting at work, right? And my principal says, can you fill in for the secretary? And if anybody who's a parent on here or educator, the first week or two of school is chaos.
Right. I can imagine.
You got 50 million kids coming, parents coming, everybody angry, educators coming. And with me being the bookkeeper, you trying to give out, supplies to the teachers. You trying to enroll kids. So it's a really busy time. And so when the principal asked me if I could fill in for the secretary, she had just started 2 days before that. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I got to try to figure out what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing yet. And so I'm like, okay. So before I could go to relieve the secretary, I get this phone call. And this the bank wanting $14,000 in 7 days. And I'm saying to myself, did they get the memo that my husband left? That's what I'm saying to myself. They must don't know I'm broke. I ain't got no food to put on the table tonight. And so they didn't care. They wanted their $14,000. And so I'm sitting here now. I got another level of what I need to do. Mind you, now, they didn't know that I just got my car out the shop 2 days before that. Okay? So I'm like, okay, what do I do? I had just borrowed this money to get the car out the shop so I can get to work, because I was bumming rides to get to work. So it was just a crazy, crazy time in our lives. And I think some people can now experience that and kind of understand what that looked like now that we're in this pandemic. It's crazy for us again, right? And so I'm like, okay, so now what do I do? So I'm sitting here, I go now and go relieve the secretary after I get myself together, because nobody in the school knew that my husband had left me. And so I'm crying and overwhelmed, but I still got to do a job. So I go relieve the secretary. And after all of that, I sit there. The secretary goes out of one door and the parent goes out the other door. The parent held the door open for the gunman, not knowing she was letting a gunman into school.
Wow.
So we're sitting here okay, wait a minute. Let me get my eyes together. So, I'm sitting there, I'm talking to one of the teachers, and I'm like, he comes in the door AK-47 out, book bag on his back. We are all going to die today. So I looked up because I'm helping her with her paperwork, and she looked up, and I'm like, is that for real? And it was. So that transformation for me, that's why I said started then, because if I had not had the opportunity to be able to be going through a divorce, and my divorce was finalized in May, the gunman came in August. So you can see I was still in trauma all the way, right?
Yeah.
So if I hadn't been going through all of that, I wouldn't have been ready for the gunman. So I would say to anybody right now, when you're sitting there in your home trying to figure out, I'm in a pandemic. This is going on. I'm trying to figure out my bills. I don't have a job. I don't know how I'm gonna put food on the table. You're going through all of these transformations in your life, right? I just want you to know to just hold on, because you are living on purpose right now today. I didn't see that time, but I realized doing that was what allowed me to be able to see what my purpose was.
Wow.
That school shooting was the only school shooting in the nation that had no fatalities or injuries, because I was able to talk that gunman down. And so from that, I wanted to make sure that not one more person felt like they were hopeless. No one didn't feel like they didn't know what their purpose was.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And no one else could feel like, what's my next? I don't get it. How do I get it, right? And so I want them to be able to put their glasses up a little bit, put a smile on your face, and be able to walk into your destiny and your purpose. So I wanted women to be able to have an actual circle that when you feeling low, that you can be able to come into this living on purpose. And even men, come into our living on purpose program. It's a 12-week program now. Don't come and say, I'm just going to sit down. No, this is a program. You're going to have some homework. We're going to dig deep. And so I wanted to do that because nobody helped me to dig deep.
Right.
Nobody was there that I could be able to have a safe conversation with, talk to somebody about what's going on with me, and be real, and knowing that my business was not going to be on CNN. We don't tell your business in the programs. You want to be able to have a safe place and somebody that you can go to, a mentor, a coach, or somebody that you can be able to say, what does this look like? It's all part of transformation. It's all part of, living on purpose and knowing what your purpose is. But if you don't know how to get in the driver's seat, right, and drive one more time, right, who's going to show you that? You need a coach to be able to do that for you. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to do after my experience with the gunman, is to be able to show people like, what is, I call it you, right? What is you?
Right.
And you stands for yourself. You know how you go into the, when you're on an airplane, right? And they say, put your mask on first, right?
Yeah.
Before you put on the next person. I say the same thing. If you don't put on and love on yourself first, how you going to love on someone else? And I had to do that. I had to realize, like, okay, Antoinette, who are you? And so one of the things that I did on my you part of myself was I did this thing called the mirror, right? I would get in the mirror and I would just introduce myself to myself. And I would say, Antoinette, meet Antoinette. Antoinette, love Antoinette. So I had to put my glasses up a little bit, get stuff right, put on your smiley face, get your hair right.
Yeah.
Put on your best face. And I had to introduce myself. Now, I'm going to be honest with you in the audience. Let me just be honest a little bit. My first few times I did it, probably about the first 30 days, I cried. I cried like a baby because I realized that I didn't know who I was. But it got better every time I did it. And so I didn't give up on loving me. And so I think what we do is, it's easy for us to love others, but it's hard for us to love ourselves. And so that's why I said, okay, what's that you, right? And so the O stands for outstanding. If you don't think you outstanding, ain't nobody else gonna think you outstanding.
Yeah.
And so it comes to be able to look at the things that you accomplish. A lot of times what we do, we are so, like hard on ourselves. I didn't get this done today. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And then how many times now with all that's going on, you just beat yourself up, right? And so I had to be able to understand, and as I'm introducing myself, to say, girl, you outstanding. And then the you, I had to go back and say, I'm unique. It's the only school shooting that had no fatalities because I was able to talk him down, right? But I had to be able to see that nobody is my duplicate. Nobody can duplicate me. Whether it's talking the gunman down, whether it's doing my programs, when somebody get me, they get the unique Antoinette. They get, they get to learn all about what that looks like for them. How do they walk into their purpose? They get the authentic me. And so I would say to each and every one of you all that'll be listening to this conference, you may go back and get the VIP and so you can hear it again. I just want you to be able to know the you.
Yeah.
And that you is yourself, that you are outstanding and you are unique and nobody can take that away from you no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Thinking back to before the shooter, you were in absolute despair. I mean, for someone to want to take their life multiple times and actually take action when you stood out there in front of the car and in front of the truck, you were like by yourself. There was nobody else, nobody helping you. But yet, a purpose showed up a little bit later that allowed you to stand up and basically say to a gunman, hey, this isn't going to happen here. and save thousands of lives. And I think that's amazing. So I believe that there's people that are watching this right now that might be in that state of despair. They don't see, we can't see the future. You didn't know 2 days later you'd be standing in front of a gunman, right?
Right.
So what would you say, Antoinette, to these people who are stuck right now? They're in despair. They don't know what the future is. Is there hope?
Oh, most definitely. Because see, this is the thing that I've realized today in loving myself. That's why it's important to learn how to love yourself. One thing I realized in loving myself is that I had to go back and say, because I always spend quiet time with God. I shut my life down 3 or 4 times a year. Like, okay, what does that look like? But I always ask God to give me 2 words every year to orchestrate my next year. My 2 words this year is focus and loving yourself, right? But what I realized in that is that when I love myself, it's nothing that anybody can say to me because I'm going to stay focused. I'm going to stay focused in what I need to do. What does that look like for me? And all of that. And so I'll tell anybody that when you're trying to navigate this new normal that we're in, because it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon, right? When you sit back and love on yourself, it will help you to stay focused. It will help you to be able to see what is that you need to do. Right. And so just, come back and say, sometimes we got to look around and say, okay, wait a minute. Because everything is going around, right? But if you go back and take out all the noise that's all around you as you do, because it comes. It will take you off of right here of focus and say, okay, wait a minute, put your glasses up a little bit. Get your hair done real cute on yourself because it's going to make you feel good about yourself. Yeah. And stay right there in your lane and just love on yourself. So that's what I'll tell people today who's listening to this is go back, figure it out. If you got to write you some, I write a vision and make it plain. I have a vision wall that I have hanging up. So when I get off focus and I'm all around and I'm trying to figure it out, I go back and look at my vision wall. I look at, what I wrote down and what I want to see in my life. That helps me stay grounded. It helps me stay focused. But most of all, it helps me loving myself and knowing what my purpose is. And when you don't do that, it helps you not to live on purpose. And it's important. If you don't have a group, I realized even with my marriage, I really didn't have girlfriends. I just only started having girlfriends in my singleness. Now, why? I don't know, but that's not a good thing. In male or female, you need a good group of men and you need a good group of women. So you can get outside to be able to know what you like to do. Have some time with yourself. Have some quiet time. I don't care if you go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, get your ice cream cone in the book. Have you some mommy time. I don't care if you're a man and you go to the gym. Have you some man time. You got to have some time outside. of just looking at your wife, your husband, and your children and your responsibilities in your home every day. You got to take time out. And if you can't do it for hours, take small time out. Say, babe, give me 15 minutes. Now, if you can't go nowhere, go sit in the garage. I'm going to get this ice cream that I bought. I'm going to sit in my car in the garage for 15 minutes. And then y'all come out and get me in 15 minutes. But I need 15 minutes. Now, women, y'all know it's a good old Calgon. Get you a good Calgon bath with some lavender in it and some candles. 15. Look, mommy time, 15 minutes. That's all. You just get your 15 minutes. And that's going to make you just really feel much better and being able to walk into your purpose.
Yeah, it's self-care. And I think it's not selfish either to do this, right? Because when you start to focus on yourself and you start to transform for the better, the trickle effect benefits your kids, your husband, and everybody around you, your whole community, right?
Absolutely. Because guess what you're not doing? When you focus on yourself, you ain't sitting around there looking all around, and you ain't trying to pull your glasses up because they already up and your hair looks cute. You can go in there and say, baby, what you need? You ain't fussing at the kids. You ready to make dinner now. You're ready to be able to say, okay, mommy, daddy gonna have us some quiet time. We're gonna watch us some movie. Go in your room. You know, you're able to do all that, but you're not able to do that when you're frustrated, when you mad, when you angry. You done burned up the dinner and we like, okay, mommy, you fried chicken real good. That's one of your specialties. And the chicken is a little burnt.
Yeah, just eat it and keep your mouth shut.
Yes. Because remember that was the last pack I had tonight.
Now, there's going to be some people out there that really don't know what their purpose is yet. How does someone start working towards determining what their purpose is? What does that look like?
What I would say is, one of the things that I do with mine is as we do their assessment, I kind of take people through what their assessment is to kind of see. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they don't know. But when we go through the assessment and kind of, ask them different questions, that helps me to be able to help them to be able to figure out what their purpose is. A lot of times what we do is we don't realize that, what was that one thing that I really like? And one of the exercises that I do with my clients is this. I tell them, close your eyes, put your glasses up right, stand and look real cute. Yeah. And I want you to just think about something that you would do, right? That you would do for free.
Right.
If you close your eyes and money was not an option, right? And you said, I would do this one thing, even if I did it for free. That is 9 times out of 10, your purpose. And it's at least the start of your purpose to walk you through it.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, then you start looking at, oh, I like to bake. Oh, okay, you know what? I like to impart into youth. I like to have I like seniors. I like to work with seniors. So you start looking at all those things that you like to do, and whether you get a paycheck or not, when you walking in your purpose, it's just marvelous.
Wow, this is amazing. So tell me a little bit about your course. Like, people can get a hold of you through your website, and we'll provide that link as well. So if someone's interested in your course, how many weeks is it? I think you said it before, but let's just go over that again.
Okay, so say someone wants to get into I have two different training programs. So the Living on Purpose program, it's a 12-week program. They come in, we have homework, they get journals that they do, they have worksheets that they do. We kind of walk them through all of that. And so in that session, we have different modules within it. And so when they come in and do assessment first. We kind of walk them through that. They have one-on-one sessions with me. I give them all kind of different bonuses so they can come in that Living on Purpose program. They do the one-on-one. We do group sessions. I do them a tough associate. So I have them an accountability partner when they're there. So man, you may say, well, I don't really have anybody I can talk to because they run their mouth too much, right? I don't tell them my business.
I can't get a word in edgewise.
So with this, I give you an actual tough associate that we, and so, you have somebody that you can kind of, I believe iron sharpens iron, right? And so
Right.
it's not like, one of my rules is, everybody has their opinion. We don't put anybody down. It's a safe place. And so in my Living on Purpose program, which is 12 weeks, I only take 10 women in each program. So I do small groups in that because it gives everybody an opportunity, right, to be able to share. It gives everybody an opportunity to be able to say, like, I would like to do this, I would like to do that. The other thing that I do within that program is, like, I go back and say, okay, what was that you said you would do for free, right? I reach out to people that are in my community and I have them to come and be guest speakers. So as you are now talking about, I would like to have a nonprofit, then I bring people in that's in my community that sits in my team, one of my team members, to come in and talk about nonprofit. So they give you all the setup of what that looks like for you. How do you do that? Say you say, well, Antoinette, I really want to do, branding. I don't know how to brand my business. What does that look like? I bring in one of my team members. They talk about branding and doing all that. So you can be able to know. So even though it's a Living on Purpose program, I truly believe that we birth entrepreneurs out of that. One of my
that's really cool.
One of my students came in and she was like, okay, I really want to do my own nonprofit for girls. And so I was like, okay, let's iron it out a little bit. Let's look at what let's get your little, give you a template for your business plan. You got to have a name, how you set it up. We go through all of that within the program so that when they come out, whatever that dream is, I tap into all of that. Also in their one-on-one sessions, I go back and look, did you do your homework? Because you got to invest in yourself. Did you do your homework?
Yeah.
If you didn't do it, then why didn't you do it? Are you stuck somewhere? So it's not like, when mama said, I'm going to whoop you because you ain't do your homework. It's not like that.
I was wondering.
It's not like that. But what I want people to be able to do is, and I had to realize with myself, if you don't invest in yourself, then you can't come and ask somebody else to invest in you.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to give them tools and tips. So, and then bring in other speakers and then bring in other things that they can be able to do. Another thing that I do within my programs on both sides is that I go in and allow them to go and interview on my platform. So they can come in if they'd like to, and we do one-on-one interviews on my social media platform, and just to give them other opportunities. And then some of the people that go through my program, they become now recycle and be one of my actual team members to come back in and help somebody else along the way. So that's my Living on Purpose program.
Wow.
Yeah. So I kind of make sure that we do that. I also do one that's called Me Time, and Me stands for Mind Empowerment Time Community, and that's where it's for women. We do and men. You don't have to be male or female. You can be male or female in that Me Time. But what we do in that is we give back to each other. So that one is a monthly fee that we do every month. But what we do in that community, you get some of the same benefits that you do in the Living on Purpose community. But with that community, it's a monthly fee. But in that month, you get an actual gift box. And so what we do is, say you have a business within our community. Instead of us going outside and getting gifts from others, we come back and buy within our community. So what we do is always recycle within our communities to make us strong within the community.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that one. The other way that somebody has an opportunity to do is called DIPS. So that means if you're like a corporation, you're a nonprofit, you're a school district, university, or you could be association. If you don't have, like now with everything that's going on, if you don't have diversity, inclusion, or psychological safety within your organization, then we come in and do an assessment again. Then we come in and you have different options that you can do within that program. So we have, you can do just pick one topic. Those topics are, and I give you a whole big roadmap to do it. All this information is on my website. So what we do is we go in, you can be able to come in and do either one of them. You can also, we have a 12-week, and then we also have our mastery program. So you can say, well, Antoinette, not really sure what to do. So you can do the Kickstart program. Or you kind of know a little bit, so you do the deeper dive. And then if you say, Antoinette, I really need all of it, right? I want to have the team members. I want everything. And that's our mastery program. And that usually lasts about 6 months because we bring in speakers. We bring in what you need. We do different sessions with your employees, your team, your actual team members. So we take your leadership team and do that. And we kind of bring everybody in and do assessments and everything. Yep.
Wow.
But they can see all of that on our website. We don't have our me time on there yet. That's one that we were doing, so they can also do that. If they not for sure what to do, they can always give us a call.
Wow, that's a lot.
Oh yeah, we do it. We make sure. The thing about it, Daryl, is one thing I realized is that you have to hit people as a whole. Yeah. You know, so with the Kids on the Move for Success, we hit our youth with our after-school programs and all that, right? And our scholarships and everything. And then with our women program, which is Women on the Move for Success, we hit our women, right? And then our diversity, which is our Leaders on the Move for Success, we hit our leaders and our employees. So when you finish, you hit everybody as a whole. So no matter if you're a mama, you're a dad, or you're a youth, everybody gets touched somewhere. Because one thing I realized is that when you touch families as a whole, then you can make a difference in their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And anyone that's watching this, that's here because you want personal transformation in your life, hey, we all have jobs. Some of us are entrepreneurs. We're professionals. When we start changing the purpose internally in ourselves, that can't help but just bleed over into everything else that we do and benefit our family, our businesses, our community, our church, whatever it is, we can do it. Listen, Antoinette, we're at the end of our time already. I can't believe it. This has been a wonderful time. I know. Listen, everyone, everybody that attends this summit, Antoinette's going to give everyone a free gift. And it's a PDF download. So what is that, Antoinette?
That is the 7 ways to achieve your best day.
Wow.
You want to be able to see, how can I have my best day in this life? So everybody will get an opportunity to be able to see those 7 steps. And when you look at it, you be like, Antoinette, for sure on this? You're going to give us a call and walk you through it.
Well, it sounds like you needed that PDF when you were standing in front of that truck.
Oh my goodness! Because somebody have just given me a day, just one way of how I could survive.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out 7, but 1 would have been good.
Absolutely, and this is why we're doing the summit, because we're connecting people with people.
That's it.
And that's how we learn, and that's how we grow. Now, Antoinette's got 2 other gifts. So there's 2 people that are attending this live summit that are going to get a free gift. Not everybody, but just 2 people. What is that?
Okay, so what those 2 gifts are is a one-on-one coaching session with me. And I do that coaching session. So it would be a one-on-one coaching session with me for the Living on Purpose or one of our programs. I'll go over all of that with you. Or you can do a discussion coaching session with me. And both of those sessions are actually based off of my Tough Tactics, which is compassion, confidence, and control.
Wow. Somebody's going to get that.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Wow.
And you look, now don't be over there sleeping on it, y'all. Y'all need to go and sign up for this conference, because you got 3 ways to be able to be blessed on top of what all the other speakers are giving you. So you can't sit there and say, I don't know how to I ain't got no transformation. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to walk in my purpose. I don't know how to do it. We done gave you 3 ways.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
We done gave you 3 ways.
Listen, everybody. You can also get Antoinette's book, I believe, on Amazon, right?
You can get it on my website. If you want it autographed, you can go on my website under media and books, and they can do it there. And then that way I will autograph it to you, personalize it to you, pray over it, all that, and ship it right on to you.
That's awesome. Hey, Antoinette, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And you can do it. There's purpose. Sometimes you just need to find it.
That's it.
Have a blessed day.
Yes. Now make sure y'all come and let us know how you're doing about it now, okay?
Yeah.
We want to know what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
So come back on our social media on Antoinette Tough, and come back on Derek. You want to make sure on the website and let us know what you think about it. We can help you if you don't come on over and let us know.
That's
yes,
it. That's it. Be blessed, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Hey everyone, what a pleasure, Antoinette. Thank you for joining us live, Antoinette, on the chat as well. Wow, what a testimony. How inspirational is that? Well, I just ran the little ticker here, and so I would like to congratulate Doris Trellenberg. You are going to spend one-on-one time with Antoinette, which is amazing. I will connect you with her and through an email, and then you guys can get together on that. And then she also had a second, let me see here. Yeah, a second thing, which was Dubs. So someone can spend a little bit of time with Antoinette in the, is it Dubs or Dibs? It's one of those two. I wrote it down one way and I thought I heard it another way. Anyway, and the winner of that is Bonnie Schroeder. Hey, awesome. This has been amazing. Listen, I want to give you all a sneak peek at a bonus session. Now, everyone that has the All Access Pass has access to the whole back end. And I'll just show you that real quick here. Let me see it. There we go. So when you have the All Access Pass, you will get access to the back end where you can go in and see all the digital care, free resources from all the speakers. You'll be able to watch every session, because I'm sure many of you miss some sessions or parts of sessions. You can go in and watch the bonuses. We have 4 hours of bonuses, and they vary anywhere from a few minutes to like almost 30, 40 minutes each. So it's 4 hours altogether. It's well worth it. It's only $39. So I encourage you to do that. What I do here is let me see here. Here we go. Hey, am I there, everyone? I just heard from someone that I'm frozen. Can you just respond? Can you all see and hear me? Yeah, I hope you can all hear and see me. But I did hear that we were frozen for a minute. You just may have to refresh your page. Just waiting to hear a little bit back from someone. You're on. Good. I'm still on. Awesome. Hey, this is the internet. You don't know what's going to happen. Everything's running great from my end. But hey, you just never know, right? So listen, okay, recap. I just talked a little bit about the All Access Pass, where you can go in and watch all the previous sessions and 4 hours of bonus sessions. But I want you to experience a bonus session right now. It's only about 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes long, and it's with Antoinette Tough, where she talks about tough things. Tough tactics. Tough tactics. Okay, now let's go back here, and I will find it. Antoinette, where are you? Here, Antoinette bonus. Let's play. Okay, watch. Well, Antoinette, we're together again, and you have a topic that you'd like to share a little bit about. And what's the topic called?
It's called Tough Tactics.
Wow, okay.
Tell us more. Tough Tactics is compassion, confidence, and control. And those are the things that I used when the gunman held me hostage. Everybody kept saying, Antoinette, you were so calm on the 911 call. Like, how did you stay so calm? And I realized that I was actually in an environment that was diverse. I was in an environment that I wanted to make sure that the gunman knew that he was included. And I was also in an environment that I wanted to make sure that was psychologically safe. The gunman had already said to me that he was mentally unstable, that he hadn't taken his medicine, and that we were all going to die. So when you take all of that and wrap it up, it's like, how do you now save lives? Because that's what you want to do. You just want to pause for a minute because you know, I see bullets running everywhere. Everybody's going to die. I see a bullet in the room with me ricocheting everywhere. Like, what do we do? And I realized what I did in that moment was I was able to show the gunman my tough tactics, which is compassion, allowing him to know that no matter what his age is, no matter what the color of his skin, no matter what it may look like for us, that he too had a purpose in life. I was able to have some confidence in it, because if I would have done what he was doing, then it would have been chaos for both of us, because he was already walking to and fro. He had shot out in the community several times. He had shot in the room where I was several times. He reloaded the magazine in front of me to be able to go back and kill everybody, including himself. He took the gun right here and pointed it right here to try to kill himself. And so in that moment, I had to have some compassion and confidence to know that we were all going to live. But I also had to stay in control. And that's my third tough tactics. It's staying in control of it all. Still allowing him to know that, you know, you're included. I'm not excluding you. I'm hearing your voice. I know what that looks like. Because I tried to commit suicide 2 days ago. You just can't take my life. I was all right in taking my own. You just can't take it, right? And so, no. And so when we look at all that and we're on our jobs today, are you making sure that your office, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a vice president, whatever leadership, you know, position that you're in, are you making sure that your employees feel included? Whether it's them giving their opinions on something, whether they come to you and say, you know, I was just sexually harassed by someone, or I was just threatened by a student if you're in the school. How are we going into making sure that our environments are actually what I call DIPS, diversity, inclusion, and psychological safety? Are we making sure that that's what they are? And so I wanted to make sure that that gunman felt like that. So I would say to any of your audience now, if you're not for sure that you are including those tactics in your workplace, please make sure that you come over to our website, AntoinetteTuff.com, and be able to sign up for a free DIPS assessment of your organization, so that we can be able to help you to be able to have an environment that employers and employees feel safe.
Yeah. That's so good. I mean, I run a nonprofit organization. We've got multiple staff, and, you know, sometimes it isn't a matter of just giving them a raise or things like that. They want to be heard and they want to be valued. And I think that's so important. I think that's really, when you talk to the gunman, just you made him feel comfortable and that somebody was actually listening and cared. And wow, what a valuable thing.
And then my thing is, as entrepreneurs and, you know, owners, we don't put our glasses on and put our lenses on, right? We go down there, you know, and we looking over that way, and our employees can't see you like that. Our employees are looking like, you know, you looking over me. You're not looking at me. Mm-hmm. And when we look over employees, then they don't feel like they're valued. And so the way that you do that is making sure that you have an environment that they feel included. But my other thing is, if you have a nonprofit or a for-profit, you know, do you have diversity within your leadership team? And a lot of times, if you go back and look at it, we didn't. Right. You know, we only had a certain group of people, no matter what race that was, and no matter what your organization was. You know, we had our certain friends or those that we were comfortable with within management positions. It could be your relative, it could have been your best friend, but you got this employee who's giving you 150%, who's got great ideas that can take your business to the next level. But because you were looking over them and not looking at them, you missed the opportunity that they could have been able to help you in a leadership position. And so I think also when we're looking at that in our organizations and even in our school districts, how many teachers and you know, they're not administrators because They may not have the degree. I know when they just sent out, because I'm actually helping educators now within the school district. Actually, where the government held me hostage. I'm back there helping educators.
Oh, okay.
Really, really scary. But I knew my educators need me. But they sent out this survey, right? And they said that they needed some, people to sit on this panel, right? But in that, at the bottom of it, you thinking when you read in the top that, oh, I can do this. I may be a bookkeeper. I may be the secretary. I may be a custodian. I got great ideas, right? But at the very bottom in fine lines, they said that you had to be a management or in a leadership position. Guess how many people that just knocked out? The bus drivers, the cafeteria workers. And so, are you really having diversity within your organization? Do you really have inclusion? Is it really a psychological safe environment? Absolutely not. You do not have dips.
Yeah. Wow.
You're going to be dipping in your revenue in a minute when everybody starts leaving.
Yeah, absolutely.
That bottom line going to be looking real funny. Because as you know now, educators are leaving every day. They don't know where they're going. They don't have the income. But they are not staying. It used to be a time that teachers and everybody stayed in school systems. Not today. So it becomes, how do we make sure that we have dips within our organizations, whether you're a nonprofit or organization, association, for-profit, whatever that may be. Do you have dips, diversity, inclusion, and psychological safety, and making it safe for everyone within your organization?
Well, listen, everybody, you need to visit Antoinette's website. You can sign up for that. It's been wonderful again, Antoinette. Thank you so much for your time. I've loved our time together. It's been amazing. Lots of laughs and really talking about serious things too. Mm-hmm. And so we're making a difference in the world.
That's it. Most definitely.
You can follow Antoinette on LinkedIn. That's where we met, was on LinkedIn. She's always posting amazing stuff and encouraging people, and I really, really appreciate that. So once again, thank you, Antoinette, and thank you everyone for viewing and being a part of this today. Bless you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, wasn't that wonderful? That's a short little tidbit. That's a short bonus session with her. We could have gone on and on and on. It was so amazing. Antoinette, you're an amazing person. Appreciate you so much. Hey, Shannon, I would love to come your way someday in the future and just hang out with you and maybe even go to church with you. Anyway, listen, thank you everyone for being part of this today. And I'm going to invite everyone that's on right now, and I'm going to drop a link in here because we are going to be going live on Zoom at the top of the hour. That's in about 8 minutes from now. Let me see here. Where's my link? Here we go. We've got lots of people who, like well over 50 people that have the All Access Pass, but many of them are working and they just can't take the time off to get into the Zoom. So I'm not exactly sure how many people are going to show up, but hey, whoever shows up, we'll be able to just talk to one another, catch up, questions and answers. It'll be great. So I dropped the link in there right now. So anyone that's on live right now can jump on that Zoom call. It's going to start in about 8 minutes. And then don't forget, we have a bonus day tomorrow morning, just for 2.5 hours. We're going to have 3 more speakers, of which I'm one of them. And it will be John and Chelsea Jubilee. We're going to talk about hydration. Is it important to mental health? And then Sue Moore is going to be on. We're going to talk about why you need a coach in your corner. Something you really, really need to think about. This whole summit has been about mindset. It's been about the fact that we need people on our journey. We need to find our tribe. We need a coach. I mean, it's important. And so why do we need a coach? It's a great question, because some people don't think they do. But trust me, you do. And every good coach has a coach. So it's good for our lives and it's good for moving forward. So anyways, I'm going to end the session now. And those of you who will be on Zoom at the top of the hour, we'll see you. And other than that, we will see you again tomorrow morning just for 2.5 hours. And then you'll learn about my session, which is at the very end of uncovering the 3 myths of weight loss that I discovered. And that will be the end of the Transformation Summit. So we'll see you either in the Zoom session coming up, and or we'll see you tomorrow morning. So bless you and have a great day.